Hello and welcome back to the Solland Uprising Mighty Empires campaign. I am Garion Reaver. This is the fourth battle of round 6, I believe. Apologies, it's been a little while because my computer has been plagued with horrendous and inexplicable crashes and reboots. And by the fact that you're hearing this now, presumably that hasn't happened during this recording. But that has been under threat this entire time, which is why I couldn't have done this battle sooner, and why I may still struggle with it. But anyway, so this is the Siege of Drakenhof by Clan Deathtoll. We have a lot to go through, a lot of rules to explain, so I will launch straight into it. This is a siege battle as laid out in the Blood in the Badlands book, which means we have the fortress, we have special deployment, we have special starvation and siege attack rules, and the defending force is split between a defense and a relief force. Let's go through it bit by bit so that we're all on the same page, because I've never fought a siege battle before, so we will see how this goes. First of all, this is Drakenhof. I know, best I could do. So there is the Hell Gate, we'll come back to that. We've got 4 sections of wall and 4 towers. One's a blood tower. Again, we'll come back to that. I really wasn't sure whether it should be the 72-inch or the 60-inch. Like, on the example for the deployment stuff, it only says 8 inches around this. It doesn't make any bloody mention whatsoever of how big the board is. So maybe I should have done this on a 72. I'm doing this on a 60 because, frankly, it already seems really hard for the defenders. The way a fortress works is each of these counts as a separate building that can be occupied individually. They can also fight between them as if it were a multi-part building, and the gate, if occupied by a friend, can be passed through freely, otherwise it counts as a building that must be assaulted. Units can move between unoccupied parts of the building pretty freely. Up to 10 models are allowed to shoot out of each part. They're all counted as having sort of 2 floors as far as buildings go. And any unit defending a fortress section gets +1 combat resolution. So because it counts as assaulting a building, normal combat resolution modifiers are not applied at all, apart from this +1 for defending a fortress. Fortress sections can also be assaulted from multiple sides at once. So normally, assaulting a building, only one unit can fight because they're considered to surround it. In this, I'm doing motions with my hands, you can't see that. In this case, say this tower is being assaulted, one unit could assault it from outside the tower, one from this section of wall, one from this section of wall. So even if there's like one here and one here, only one unit can assault from the ground level, and one from each connected part. And that goes for every single part, basically. Sections can be breached, and I'll find some way to denote those. It's going to be really tricky if one of these is breached, because that's technically a one long piece, but I'll deal with that as and when. The difference with breached walls, you can't just walk straight through them, you still have to assault them, they can still be held, etc. The difference is, whereas normally to force a defender out of an occupied building, they have to break from combat. In this case, you just force them out if you win. They don't need to break. Just the moment you win a combat against someone in a breached section, they are out of that section. Units can, however, retreat into adjoining sections, so one defeated here could retreat into the tower, etc. Another thing which I was actually really glad to see in the rules, considering the vampire counts are defending and have absolutely no ranged weapons, is rocks. When you are assaulting a fortress, they are allowed to throw rocks at you, and it even specifies in the rules even units not allowed to shoot, like undead for example, or war machine crew, can still do it with rocks. So my skeletons and zombies can still push rocks down onto the people assaulting them. As for how the game is won, the battle only lasts 5 turns, the game is very specific about that, and we have to place objective markers. So I will be using little pink bubble markers. There are 3 objectives placed on sections of the walls, and the attacker places the first, then the defender, and then the attacker. So the attacker is first going to place one on the Hellgate, because that is an important one to try and capture. Next, the defender is going to... I probably should have got more of those before I locked it, but whatever. The defender is going to place one on the blood tower, and then the last one is going to go on this section of wall over here. So those are the 3 things that have to be captured. If at the end of turn 5 all 3 have been captured, the attacker wins the siege. If only 1 has been captured, the defender wins the siege. If 2 have been captured, it is a draw and you go to victory points. However, the defender can also win with their relief force, because as I mentioned, the defending force is split in 2 in whatever difference you want. You can have no relief force if you prefer, but there is a downside to that. I will come back to it. Apologies, like I said, a lot of rules in this. If a unit of 5 or more models from the relief force enters the fortress through the gateway specifically, before the end of turn 5, then the defenders win. And this is why I was unsure about having a larger board, because if it's random where the relief force comes on, if the relief force comes on here, they have literally no chance of reaching the gate before the end of the game. That's why the turn 5 limit and stuff seems really odd. I'm going to give it a go as written, but we may adjust this for future ones because this seems bizarre to me. And the final rule is, as I mentioned, there is a downside to not having a relief force, and it is called starvation. Basically, you roll a d6 for every single model deployed in the fortress, or that will be deployed in the fortress, and usually on a 5+, they take a wound. That can obviously be devastating. In this case, they are all pretty much all returnable from the grave, so it's going to be less devastating. But yes, that is not the end of the rules, those are just the static rules. So this is the deployment. I'll get rid of these before the battle begins. But yeah, sorry, ignore that big white dot. I couldn't get rid of it again when I placed it. But yes, this is the deployment. The Clan Deathtoll can deploy anywhere outside of this red. So this is 8 inches away in every direction. But yes, Siege has special points involved with it called Siege Points, imaginatively. And to remind you, this battle is 2,750 points of Sylvania versus 2,640 of Clan Deathtoll. They spend gold on this. You get a number of siege points equal to the points value of your army, which you can then spend on stuff that is listed in the Blood in the Badlands book. So before I go through all of that, I will go through the armies, and then we'll come back and talk about what they chose for their siege and what effect it all has. Apologies, this one's going to be a bit slow. Maybe it's lucky it only has 5 turns. First of all, the defensive force of Sylvania. This is being led by Manfred himself, Count Manfred, and we also have the returning character of Yuri von Karstein. They are the only characters in this because bloody hell everything in this army is so expensive when you're trying to defend like 9 different directions at once. You just can't afford anything. And as you can see from the rest of the force, that is what I'm trying to do. Because each section of the fortress can be individually assaulted, I wanted to put something in each one. Maybe I didn't need to do that. I'll learn, I'll learn. So we have 2 units of skeletons, 4 units of zombies, 2 units of graveguard, and then a tiny, tiny unit, which I swear is the largest I could make it, of blood knights, and then 8 cairn wraiths with Tomb Banshee. And in this force, the Blood Knights and Cairn Wraiths, I do actually need to double check something. Okay, I don't know the answer to this. It's not stated anywhere in the book. It's one of those things that is just missing. Is it known to the other player what siege things you pick? Because if it is, that is going to affect the relief force. I guess. No, I'm going to try the relief force. I don't know. I really have no idea how to play this. Apologies that I'm so uncertain about this, but this scenario seems so bizarre to me. But I will give it a go, like I said, as written. So yes, the Blood Knights and the Cairn Wraiths are going to be the relief force. The thinking here is that the Blood Knights are some of the hardest hitting cavalry in the game and may have a decent chance of actually breaking through, and the Cairn Wraiths are ethereal, so they can just run through, basically. Over on the Skaven side, we have 5 characters. First of all, the returning leader of Clan Deathtoll himself, Warlord Gritcha, and he is being assisted by his capable enforcer, Cruiser. We have 2 spellcasters, both new. We have a Chich Stomper, the Warlock Engineer, and Stilk Driptooth, the Plague Priest. And this is because Screech isn't here, and Bilefroth died. And then finally we have Sral the Hooded, who is an assassin, who I'm hoping might be able to turn the tide in an assault. As for the force, this is also geared to launch as many assaults as possible. We want to spread the defenders thin, and maybe this will vindicate my spreading the defenders thin, I guess. We have a unit of clan rats with a warp fire thrower, 4 units of Skaven slaves. I was considering having 2 colossal units, but of course, that wouldn't help in a siege attack. So yeah, 4 small units. Storm Vermin also with a warp fire thrower, because warp fire is great at breaking units. Well, I mean, it would be, but they're undead, so it's just good at clearing units. Some gutter runners who can outflank. Plague Sensor Bearers and Rat Ogres who are going to do well at assaulting. 2 Hellpit Abominations, again good at assaulting, and 2 Warp Lightning Cannons. The cannons are because siege weapons have an additional ability, which we will come back to. Right now, in fact, because as I mentioned, each force got to spend siege points up to the value of their army. So, Clan Deathtoll has 2,640 siege points to spend, and they spent that on a hasty assault, which cost half of them, a battering ram for 500, and then 3 undermines for 250 each, leaving them with just 80 siege points left over with nothing to spend them on. What all of that means is the attacker makes a hasty assault, so starvation rolls have a -1 modifier. Basically, they only take a wound on a 6. And the reasoning for this is, what's the point of trying to starve them out when they're undead? It's not actually starvation because they are undead, but it is a case of they can just stand them back up again. What's the point, However, the benefit this has to the Deathtoll side is it means the relief force, which normally would arrive from turn 2 onwards, arrives from turn 4 onwards. And, considering the game ends at the end of turn 5, what bloody chance do you have of getting the relief force in? So, which is why it's like, if they know this is what they're doing, would they put anything in the relief force? So I don't know. I'm still very, very tempted to just deploy them with the rest and just not have a relief force, because maybe having them ready to assault basically any wall that loses would do some good from the inside. The battering ram, which is this thing down here, the big ram, this is a special unit, counts as a chariot, can only move directly forwards, can't charge, wheel or reform, but it can attack wall sections. And at the start of each round of combat, you roll a d6, and on a 5+, it breaches. On a 4+, it breaches a gate. That's literally all it does. That was 500 points, but that means that every round of combat it has a 50% chance of smashing down the gate. And the undermines, which I bought 3 of, go into the yet more mechanics for this battle, which I've still not talked about, where you roll a number of dice before, I think it's after deployment, but before the battle, and you can destroy sections of wall or parts of the enemy army. So undermines increases the number of rolls they get. I will come back to it, but still, I keep saying that, but there is just so much in this. Sylvania, purchase the Tower of Blood, that's the one in the bottom corner, for 500, the Hellgate for 250, 3 Sally Forths for 250 each, and 5 Boiling Oil for 250 each. The Tower of Blood means that any unit occupying the tower benefits from Hatred and Frenzy. By what I can tell, this does go both ways, but this is why they put the objective there. It makes it much easier to hold when the defending unit has Hatred and Frenzy. The Hellgate gives it a breath weapon, which means it can just breathe fire, basically, and it's, well, not fire necessarily, but yeah, it can do additional attacks when it's being assaulted. Sally Forth, which would normally represent sort of literally riding out and attacking stuff, but it could also just be Manfred at the top just casting magic down, adds to the defensive rolls, similar to how Undermines adds to the offensive rolls. And then Boiling Oil are indicated by these little circles here. These are Boiling Oil, and each of those you give to a unit, and you just place the template within 3 inches, and it just does a load of armor-piercing damage. So now that we have gone through that extensive stuff... Oh yeah, and the terrain, I can't remember if I said this, apologies. I'm just going to count all of these as impassable. And these are just fortress sections, so I'm going to keep everything else relatively simple because there is already so much going on. So the way deployment works is after you set the objectives, the defending force deploys first, and this is why I felt it was so important to have so many individual units, because if you leave any section undefended, that's the bit they're going to attack. But I suppose you can easily move between sections, so maybe if you have a significant defensive force on each side, that's enough. But if they assault an undefended section, they literally just immediately take it. So it's not a case of, you have time to redeploy if you see them going for it. They're so close they can probably just assault it and take it on the first turn. So defensive deployment first, and the advantage is I don't need to try and fit bloody units on these walls. I can just have a representative on there. So first of all, let's do magic. God, I can't believe it's taken me this long to reach this stage. Oh yeah, and just because I almost forgot, this board and these magic cards are both from mods that I've uploaded, and they are linked in the description. You should go totally use them if you want to play Warhammer 8th edition. First of all, Manfred. He is a lore master, which means he knows every spell from both the lore of vampires and the lore of death. I do not need to roll. Yuri, however, is a second level Lore of Vampires wizard, so he gets 2 spells. His first one is Hellish Vigor. Reroll to hit. Frankly, I think that's fine. By the way, this is an exception to the whole, you have a duplicate. Because Manfred didn't choose his, he can never trigger a duplicate thing. And basically, whatever the second one is going to be, I'll replace it with Invocation. So he's got Hellish Vigor and Invocation of Nehek. Next is Chich, who is a second level Lore of Ruin, and to mention I have, I believe, changed the lore attribute from what it was last time they appeared. It is now Musk of Fear, which is -1 leadership. This is based on the, I believe, Warhammer Armies project, which is itself based on Total War Warhammer. He gets 2 spells. His first one is Skitter Leap. That I don't think has any use whatsoever here. To be honest, I don't really know a lot of use that Skitter Leap has. By the way, this is a slightly homebrewed thing. I have to say this every time. Both of these are slightly homebrewed because the 7th edition Skaven didn't have lore attributes or the 6 spell system in the same way. So yeah, I'll swap Skitter Leap for Warp Lightning. That's the signature spell. So got that instead. And Chich's second one is Howling Warp Gale. That is literally worthless, but there is nothing I can do now because I've already got the signature spell. On to Stilk, and I'm just going to have to move these out of the way slightly. Stilk is also a second level. His first one is Cloud of Corruption, affects all units in range, d6 strength for hits. This could do a hell of a lot of damage. I will take it, and the second one is also Cloud of Corruption, meaning I get to pick any I want. I kind of think I want to go with Weeping World Swords, because if that scatters onto multiple building parts, then it will hit each of them for d6. So yeah, that could be colossally dangerous here. What am I doing with these, with the relief force? I think given that they're doing a hasty assault, and given so with the reduced risk of these being wounded, and the reduced chance of them actually reaching the bloody gate. If they spawn here, that gives them 2 turns to travel all this distance. They can't, I think the vampires can march, but the Cairn Wraiths literally cannot reach the gate in 2 turns, so there is literally no point to them being relief force. So yeah, I think I'm going to have to put them both inside and just have them as things that can countercharge, because I believe a difference is also that any unit can occupy a wall. Yeah, any unit can garrison a fortress section. It is not limited to infantry and monstrous infantry. So I can have my horses garrisoning a fortress section. I guess this represents that it's sort of an open air, much larger thing than a building where you've got to fit through a doorway. So let's put Yuri and his Graveguard on the Hell Tower. The Blood Tower. I think Manfred and his Graveguard on this opposite tower, the idea being that they can cover basically the entire fortress between them, and his unit have boiling oil because they're a little bit smaller. A unit of skeletons on this wall section, also with a boiling oil. The other skeletons in the gate, because something decent needs to be protecting the gate. They also have boiling oil. And then we have 2 slightly larger zombies and 2 smaller ones, both with boiling oil. So I'll put 1 zombies on this wall here, 1 on this wall, so the 2 larger zombies are at the front, leaving 1 smaller zombie on this wall and 1 smaller zombie on this tower. So even with all of these bloody units, I still have 1 thing that is effectively undefended, so I'm going to have to put the Cairn Wraiths in there. And then finally, the Blood Knights are going to go in here so that they have the maximum range to charge basically whatever falls first. And I should have done the starvation rolls before this. Why is it listed after deployment? Oh no, it's listed in the deployment section. Sorry, the whole siege battle thing is over 4 pages and it's really hard to find the relevant bloody stuff in the right bloody order. Anyway, sorry, I have to do the starvation rolls for everything in the fortress, which is everything on the Sylvania side. So for convenience, I'm just going to go down the army list. Manfred, fine. Yuri, fine. Skeletons, 2. 5 total. So those are off the right wall. Other skeletons, 2. 6 total. They're off the Hellgate. Zombies, 1. 4. 7 total. They're off the top right tower. By the way, you may notice that I am tracking the skeleton units separately because we don't have a Master of Death in this army, and therefore they cannot go above their starting, and I thought this might make it a bit quicker rather than me having to recount every single bloody time like I have been doing up to now. Second zombies, 3. 6 total. That's off the front right wall. By the way, I'm not counting zombies separately because they can always go above their starting number. Zombies, 3. 3. 4 total. Front left wall, and zombies 4. 2. 5. Good to see that everything is being roughly average. And they are off the left wall. Graveguard 1. This is the 30 size unit. 2. 5. Can I just say, one of the most annoying things in Tabletop Sim is that the text box for the name is pixels away from the delete button. How many bloody times on this game have I literally just done it, you see, because I was renaming this one and accidentally deleted the bloody movement tray. How many times have I gone to name something, slightly missed, and hit delete? And the worst bit is the only way you can undo it is by reloading a save or doing Control-Z, which causes the entire game to lag and die. So, gosh, so irritating. Second Graveguard unit, 19 strong. That's a lot of 6s. 5, bloody a quarter of that unit. So that one's Manfred's unit. 5 Blood Knights. I'm really crossing my fingers on this one. Oh! Okay, well, it's not like they're worth 50 frickin' points each, whatever. 3 Blood Knights are gone. Oh, bloody hell. I mean, they can come back, but still. 7 Wraiths and a Banshee. Oh, that one doesn't get any. That one gets none. Cool. I mean, I suppose it makes sense that they don't even... Well, I mean, none of them are starving. None of them are... The idea is it's the having to keep the magic up for extended periods causes some of them to drop, is how I'm sort of pitching it. But anyway, that is done. And now the attackers deploy. Yep, we're still not done with deployment yet. So, by the way, yeah, it's so complex having to keep track of where each of these is because I'm only putting a single bloody model in and they're all the model of the bloody blah, 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 blah. Maybe I could have written on them, but, evidently there's a risk with writing on the bloody bases. Anyway, attacker deployment. So, sorry. Accidentally whacked the desk with my knee as I was shifting. So, yes, they are aware where everything is on the attack. And I'm not sure I agree with this way round. Usually in, attack and defend situations, the defender can position themselves better because, they can move freely, whereas the attackers generally can't. But, whatever. Apparently we're not doing it that way. It's fine. The gutter runners are going to use sneaky infiltrators, so they will not deploy and will come on at a later turn. Big Ram is going directly opposite the gate, preparing for that. The Storm Vermin are going to be going for Manfred's tower, and the Warp Fire is going to go on this side. Cruiser is going to go here and aim at this wall, with the Warp Fire thrower on this side. Hell Pit Abomination there. Actually, because I'm just deploying, I can deploy pretty freely. I don't need it to actually go straight out the gate. So I'm going to have the move it over so that I can have the... have I screwed up that base? No, I haven't. It's fine. I'm going to have the Plague Sensor Bearers also going for the gate. Hell Pit Abomination going for that tower. Skaven Slaves for that wall. Skaven Slaves for the tower. I don't really see much chance of them taking it, but I'm mostly throwing it there to distract them. Rat Ogres also poised to attack that tower. Skaven Slaves to go for that tower, just to keep the Cairn Wraiths occupied. And then that has left literally this one section not being attacked because I cannot fit anything more near it. Both because of the size of the Plague Bearer unit and because this happens to be in the right bloody way. So I guess I'll just put them behind, because we really don't have much to worry about in the way of being shot. I suppose there's like offensive magic from Manfred, but that is about it. Chich is going to go here. Stilk is going to go over here. And Sral the Hooded. Sral can start the game hidden in any of my Clan Rats, Storm Vermin, Skaven Slaves, or Gutter Runner units. And obviously I do not disclose that to the opponent, which one that is. So I'm going to pick, and it's going to be a secret, and you're going to have to trust that I'm not going to change it. Yep, he is now placed in a unit. So I'm just going to put that out the way. And then the Warp Lightning Cannons right there, because they need a really, really commanding view in sieges. And then the other one, where I would put it, is a graveyard. So yeah, the terrain is already screwing me over. So I guess I'm going to put it here because that's still a pretty good view and can draw line of sight to pretty much everything here. So with all of the deployment done, I can finally get rid of these annoying lines and this giant white circle. So fingers crossed it doesn't destroy things it shouldn't. Yes. Yes, erase my drawn lines. Yay! It didn't get rid of things it shouldn't. I was worried it would get rid of the text. Right. Now that deployment is done, we begin the pre-battle phase. We still haven't started the game. I've been recording for an hour, by the way. The pre-battle phase has 4 steps to it. First of all, we have defensive artillery, then attacking artillery, then defensive missile fire, and then the assault. We start off with defensive artillery. Roll 2 dice for each defending stone thrower or cannon. There are none, because they're vampire cannons and don't have that. And each 6 would destroy a war machine. Obviously, not happening. However, we did purchase Sally Forth, which means we roll 2d6 per Sally Forth purchased, and on a 6, it destroys a cannon or the battering ram. So, the way it's phrased is the defender can attempt a sally to destroy one of the attacker's war machines. For each Sally Forth, roll an additional 2d6. It doesn't say you have to specify, does it? So, I'm just going to say it doesn't. So I'm going to roll... with the 3 Sally Forth, 6d6, and on a 6 result, a Warp Lightning or the Battering Ram is destroyed. None. Good purchase, guys. So that's the defensive artillery. Then there is the attacking artillery, which is 2 dice for each stone thrower, cannon, or bolt thrower. So that is the 2 Warp Lightnings, so 4d6 for them. And these have a chance of breaching walls or destroying war machines which don't exist. So it's just breaching walls. It's 2d6 on the 2 cannons, and both reroll 6s, and then 6d6 for the undermining. And any result of a 4 to 6, of obviously you reroll the first 6s you get, for the cannons at least, breaches a section in sight. So I'll do the 2 cannons first, as they are sort of limited in what they can breach, and then the undermining, which literally represents the Skaven digging underneath the walls, they can hit anywhere. So we'll do this cannon first, 2d6, and on a 4+, it breaches. Rerolling a 6, nothing at all. Second one, 1. So this breaches 1 wall. Ooh, it probably should be the blood tower, shouldn't it? Because it doesn't say you have to specify beforehand. It just says it causes a breach in a wall section that is... Oh, maybe it's specifically a wall section. Yeah, it is. Because later on when it talks about breaching, it refers to breaching fortress sections. But here it specifically says breaching wall sections. So I will choose to breach this one, because that's where Cruiser is going. So I'm going to colour it green. Green means breached. It rhymes or something. And now we have 6d6 of undermines, which can breach any section. No, they're also going to be limited to the wall sections. So, yeah. So, 66. Got 1 6. So, 4 successes. Rerolling the 1. Yeah, so that's another success. So, 4 sections. So, literally all 3 remaining wall sections are breached. Well, that saves me having to worry about one side or the other. And this is part of why I think this game mode doesn't seem to really work right. Because already, like, that is a horrendous amount of the fortress breached. And we've just started. So yeah, based on just my reading of the rules, this seems horrendously massively weighed in favour of the attacker. Which is generally not how siege battles go. But we will find out together. As we finally begin, because there is no defensive missile fire, because there are no defensive missiles, the assault begins with the attackers going first. So, turn 1 for Clan Deathtoll. Bloody hell. And I think we're just going to open up with charges literally everywhere. So, the Skaven pretty much all have a movement of 5, except the Rat Ogres who have a movement of 6. And, oh, sorry, yeah, we've got the Hellpit Abomination, but they will go after charges because they are compulsory movement. So these, I mean, they should be only 8 away. I don't know why there's 8.1. So I'm just going to say it's 8. I'm going to say, like, the walls are a little recessed, so they're actually going to be a smidge further. Yes, they're 10 instead of 8. But yes, Skaven slaves charging the Cairn Wraith building. They need a 3. They get it. By the way, a little unusually in something like this, they're all considered to have ladders, siege ladders and stuff. So you can buy a siege tower, which is basically a building that you can move in, so it basically negates their defensive buff. Next is Cruiser's unit assaulting. They're assaulting the zombie-held one. They need a 5 on 2 dice, which they get. Now the question is, do I actually want to charge the blood tower? Because I've got this warp fire thrower, which is just begging to burn something, and, everything else is bloody been charged. So I think I might wait a turn to shoot and then attack the blood tower. So we're just going to skip these ones. Hellpit goes after. So the plague sensors. Actually, how does it work with the ram? A section battered by the ram can still be assaulted by something else. So we will have the plague sensors charge the thing. Again, they should be 8 away. I think it's because the base is larger. So yeah, they are effectively 8 away. So on 3, they get it. So they go into their tight formation for the assault. Gritcher's unit should also be 8 away. I don't know why they're larger, but yeah, they should be 8 away. I'm assuming that anything like that is just me slightly miscalculating with the range, but yeah, it's supposed to be exactly 8 away from it. So they're also charging on 3 against Manfred's tower. Oh, they actually fail. So normally they'd get, some sort of bonus from that, like stand and shoot or whatever, but they don't, so they just move 1 inch forward. That's okay, leaves them ready to be shot at. And then over here we have the Skaven slaves who are 10 away from this wall on a 5. They also make it, so Gritcher is literally the only one who didn't make the charge. That's a bit funny. Next is the compulsory movement. The Hellpit Abomination has Shambling Horror, which means it moves 3d6 inches. I pointed in a direction and it just goes. Why does that say 2d6? Nope, it's definitely 3d6. I made a mistake with this, and Abomination. I made a typo in that as well. I keep finding little errors, but that's what happens when you do a massive overhaul of the mod yourself. You make mistakes, and you can fix them easily enough, so I'll fix those later. Anyway, the Abomination moves 3d6. Total of, I should have put the thing on there, 12, I think. So that is more than enough to charge this wall. And then this one is going to charge this tower as well, and this time I'll use this dice roller to get the total for me. 7, I don't think that isn't. No, it isn't, because it's got it's 8 away. So yeah, stops there. As for the rest of the movement, the Rat Ogres, they have Frenzy, don't they? Yes, they do. So actually, I'm going to have to test for leadership, or they are just going to charge. So they are still within range of Cruiser, so they get to use his he is carrying the Standard of Discipline, giving him +1 leadership. So he's got a 7 plus the ranks from strength in numbers that the rat ogres get, takes it up to an 8. Yep, they pass, so they do not charge. But yes, I will, with the remaining moves, move them forward a bit, because there is really no risk to it. And this way they guarantee that they will get the charge when they want to. Same with these ones, I'm going to move them a smidge further forward, and it gets Stilk a bit better in range. The ram has a movement of 1d6 plus 2, but is not counted as random movement, so therefore doesn't happen in the compulsory. So 1d6 plus 2, 6 inches forwards. That will not quite be enough to get into contact, but it should get into contact next turn. And then Chich and these slaves are going to come forward as well. And actually, yeah, they're going to come forward to there. And then the slaves are going to pivot so that they can charge this section of wall. Actually, Chich is going to be a little further back. So he's still within range of the slaves for cover, but this way he's not going to block their charge. Magic. 9. Channeling 2 vamps. 1. Channeling 2 rats. None. I think we'll start with an upcast Weeping World Wounds. So that is a direct damage, doesn't need line of sight as long as it's in the front arc, hence the giant purple squares, or triangles, whatever. And it is a large template scattering 2d6. So I'm basically going to put this firmly within here, and then that's probably going to scatter onto something that matters. So I'm just going to place it there. 2d6. Yeah, that's still got a decent chance. So that's within range just. So scatters 2d6 going that way 7 inches. That may take it off of stuff, actually. So it goes 7 inches this way. Actually, it doesn't take it far enough. So I probably shouldn't have aimed right in the middle of everything if I was expecting and indeed hoping for it to scatter. Not that I've cast the spell yet. Sorry, I leapt ahead there. So that's where it's going to go if the spell's cast, so now it doesn't matter if it's cast as long as I don't get a misfire. But, whoops. But I'm still going to put everything into it, so 5, well, not everything, but 5 dice. Oh, it's a miscast. Fucking hell. Okay. Well, they can't dispel that, so... Oh no! It missed everything. Who could have seen that coming? And the miscast is an 11. Power drain. The wizard's level is reduced by D3. Oh. I miss Bilefroth. I miss him so much. Because Stilk has just reduced his wizard level to fricking 0. He also has Frenzy. Sorry, I do need to test him as well. So he is testing on his own 6. 3 and 7. He actually fails. So he does have to try and charge. So he may be unable to cast the frickin' spell. No, he'd still be able to because you can't cast it into combat, but you can cast it while you are in combat. So yeah, he'll cast the spell and get the bloody thing regardless. But yeah, he is going to try and charge. So he needs a 3. Well, he's super frickin' dead, isn't he? Bloody hell. Oh my god. I miss Bilefroth. So yeah, that's immediately Stilk's spells gone, which means I'm left with literally 1 spell of any use because Howling Warp Gale is worthless in this game. Because there are no shooting attacks and there are no flying units. I mean, the -1 to hit could potentially help with the rocks, because technically when they throw rocks, they're going to be throwing it at their ballistic skill, but I mean, they already need a 6 to hit, so I suppose that could reduce it to a 7. I mean, the zombies have a ballistic skill of 0. Does that mean they just can't hit? I assume it does. Even with rocks, they're just physically unable to bloody push the rocks. So I guess it's just skeletons, you can use those anyway. Bloody hell. Oh, I did forget to do stand and shoot with each of these, so I will go back to that as soon as I finish with the magic phase. No, actually, I'll do it now. So, Cairn Wraiths, ballistic skill of 0, can't throw rocks. Zombies, can't throw rocks. Graveguard, yes, they can throw rocks at Stilk. Nope, they have a ballistic skill of 0 as well. They can't throw rocks either. Why are skeletons the only thing in the army that has a ballistic skill? That's so bizarre. Why give them a ballistic skill if they can never have ranged weapons? This is so weird. I'm tempted to let them try anyway, just because this seems like it goes against the point of the bloody rocks. No, because the wording of the rocks thing is even units that are not normally able to stand and shoot. Well, actually, it says stand and fire. Why would you get the phrasing? Whatever. I have serious doubts about how well this Blood in the Badlands book was made. Anyway, these skeletons, they're the first ones going around that can actually do a stand and shoot against the Plague Sensor Bearers. So, rocks are range 1, strength 3, quick to fire, which has literally no bearing whatsoever in this because you can't charge from closer than 1 inch, and it has a 1 inch range. So, yeah. Rocks always hit on a 5+, no matter the ballistic skill. Oh my god, sorry, it's literally 4 pages of text trying to find anything relevant. Why does it say that here? Rocks can be used to stand and fire against attackers. Stand and shoot. It's called stand and shoot. Whatever. Rocks always hit on a 5+, no matter what the ballistic skill of the model dropping it, and no matter what modifiers would normally apply. So, yeah, Howling Warp Gale, no worth whatsoever, but it seems that even the ballistic skill 0 Cairn Wraiths and Zombies can drop rocks. Bloody hell, this roller coaster of plot contrivance. So let's go back round again. 8 Cairn Wraith dropped rocks. 1 hit. Against the Skaven Slaves, no wound. Zombies against Cruiser's Clan Rats. 2 hit. No wounds. Yuri's Graveguard against Stilk. 3 hit. Bloody 1 wound despite needing a 6. So Stilk's half dead and already lost all his level. He may as well just die. At this point, Gritcher really doesn't care. Zombies cannot actually stand and shoot against the Helped Abomination, because you can't do any charge reactions whatsoever to random movement. So although it says that they can stand and fire when they can't normally stand and fire, they can't stand and shoot regardless, because, yeah, whatever. I'm saying they can't. Plague Sensors, the skeletons against the Plague Sensors. 2. 1 wound. Why are the ones that are harder to wound the ones that are actually taking the damage? We actually have our first Skaven casualty. And then over here, skeletons against Skaven slaves. 5. Bloody hell, 4 wounds. Do they get an armor? No, they're Skaven slaves. They don't have armor. Oh no, they have a shield. So yeah, they do actually get, they do get a 6+. Oh, sorry, that's 4 dice. Sorry, ignoring this one. They failed 5 anyway. Alright, so yeah, that is 4 Skaven slaves bloody dead to rocks. But yeah, sorry, I was kind of aggroed about how difficult it is to find the stuff I need to find in this bloody mountain of rules, but I do actually really like the way the rock rules are done. And that's how I thought they were done, but I like, what's the term, doubted myself too much. But yeah, I do really like that even units that can't normally do any kind of ranged attacks can still do rocks, regardless of their ballistic skill, because it's literally just dropping rocks off of a wall onto the people climbing up at you. You know, that totally makes sense and is a bit of a balancer. So, apologies if all of the ranting made it sound like I didn't like the rule. I do. Anyway, with that done, we are continuing with the magic phase with the 4 dice we have left and the 1 spell we can cast. So let's go with Warp Lightning against Manfred's Graveguard unit. It's unlikely he's going to get a spell through on 4 dice when they have 6 to try and dispel it, but he will try. He's a 2nd level, so a total of 19 with his level, and they have 6 to try and dispel. He is a 4th level, so yeah, he dispelled with a total of 22. Shooting, this Warp Fire cannot shoot because the only target it had is now in combat. This Warp Lightning Cannon can shoot over at this building part. I mean, it can also shoot that one, but that one's already breached, so there's no point. But shooting this one could potentially breach the tower and could do some damage against Manfred. So, this thing is going to be shooting right over there. So we're going to aim there, which is about 6 inches short. Right there. Sorry, it's a small token, hard to see. And the Warp Lightning Cannon. First of all, we have a 10. It did that weird thing where it sort of spawns the dice in and then just drops it, but it spawns it in on a random side, I think, so I think we're okay. So that is how much it overshoots by, and then the second one is how much it bounces and the strength. So actually this is the worst one of the two to get a 10 on, but it does still hit the tower. It goes to about here. So yeah, the tower is hit. The strength is freaking 2. My mistake, you can't actually seem to breach at all, apart from using stuff like the ram. You can't breach after the game has actually begun, so you basically can't breach towers. I suppose the exception is the ram can, and probably other purchasable stuff can. Anyway, so the way it works, because the cannon hit this, is it inflicts d6 hits on the unit within. So 6 strength 2 hits, that's going to make all the difference in the world. I mean, that is still 2 wounds, but they have a pretty good armor. Both are saved, so no damage at all. Next is the Warp Fire, which can shoot at either of these, so I believe I can risk hitting my own people. Like, I think I am allowed to do that. So if I have this thing, Flame Template, and if I aim it essentially right down the line here. Sorry, I want to split the difference, but I can't. So it's basically aiming this way, so that if it overshoots, it will just go straight down and hit things along this way. And the way I'm positioning it, it cannot possibly hit the Skaven Slaves, but it can hit any of these. So it overshoots by this amount, 4 inches. So I think that may actually still do a hell of a lot of damage. So 4 inches this way is, yeah, okay, that makes sense why I thought it was further than it is. But anyway, yep, so that actually hits both of these building sections by the look of it, quite definitively. So again, that is a template, so both of these take d6 hits from the Warp Fire Thrower. So first of all, the breached wall section takes 3, and the zombies within, bloody 2 of them survive, miraculously, a 2+, and bloody only 1 gets destroyed. So that is, what's this one? That is the front right wall. 1 zombie gone. And Manfred's unit, 1. Great. Frickin' hell. Like, is the game trying to balance itself? Because the luck that these Skaven are having is phenomenally bad. Anyway, the Warp Lightning is going to fire at this as well, because, you know, why not? I don't believe it has a minimum range. Nope. Oh, there are no armor saves allowed for the Warp Lightning cannon. Ooh, so actually, the 2 that got hit, the 2 Graveguard that got hit, don't get their armor save. Yeah, the 2 Graveguard, I rolled a 4 and a 5 for their 4+ armor, but they don't get it, because it is a Warp Lightning, and therefore ignores armor. So actually, yay, that's 2 more dead. Anyway, yes, this one is going for here. So aiming right there. And it overshoots by 6 inches. That's not bad. I've got into the habit now of aiming 6 inches short because of the risk of... Apparently I aim slightly under 6 inches short. So whatever. It hit directly in front of it. I'm not going to wreck on it. And it bounces and has a strength of freaking 2. Whatever. That's enough for it to hit the tower. And if it hits the tower, that's all that matters. So it does d6 hits. 2 hits on the tower. Bloody hell. Still freaking 2 wounds, and with no armor saves, that is 2 more. Wow, that is incredibly unlikely. But that is another 2 Graveguard gone. And that is all for the shooting. On to combat. So I think, for simplicity, I'm basically just going to go round this thing. So we're going to start here with Skaven Slaves versus Cairn Wraiths. First of all, the Cairn Wraiths inflict terror. So the Skaven Slaves have to test. They're using Cruisers, leadership of 8, plus their ranks, so they are testing on a 10, miraculously. And they fail anyway. Okay, sure, whatever. They are afraid. So they have weapon skill 1 this round. They normally had a weapon skill of 2, so it doesn't really make much of a difference. But yes, We have 10 Skaven Slaves, because still only 10 can attack in the assault, versus all of the Cairn Wraiths and the Tomb Banshee. So the Skaven go first. 1 hit. No wounds. Also, I've just realised, because just to remind you, I have homebrewed the Ethereal rule, which I think I took from the Warhammer Armies project, which is Ethereal is no longer just a blanket, non-magical can't hurt them, and instead it is I believe a 2+ ward save against non-magical, and I'm going to have to remind myself, and a 5+ against magical effects. So that's what Ethereal is instead of non-magical can't hurt. But if that wasn't the case, nothing could ever take, nothing without magical attacks could ever take a thing held by Ethereal. Because, well, they don't use any combat resolution bonuses except the one they get for defending the fortress. So it's literally impossible to take a fortress from Ethereal without this rule change. Anyway, I'm glad there is this rule change. But yes, the Skaven Slaves do absolutely no damage. Tomb Banshee attack, hit, no wound, and the 7 Cairn Wraiths have bloody 3 attacks each. So I think these Skaven Slaves are pretty screwed. I didn't realise they had that many attacks. So 8, bloody 18 attacks, hit, 18 hits. They are great weapons as well, so they have +2 strength. So, yeah, this is really, really, really bad for the Skaven Slaves. I mean, they're only Skaven Slaves, who cares? 16 dead. That was devastating. Okay. Skaven Slaves lose. They're not steadfast, so they are testing on the difference. So they need a double 1 in order to not break. So they're going to break. Oh, they almost held, but no, they did break. And when they break, they have the Cornered Rats rule, which means every unit within d6 inches, friend or foe, so presumably that's also these ones? I mean, they shouldn't hit the zombies, but I suppose the idea is if they're like fighting on ladders up here, they might run off this way. But yeah, each unit within d6 takes d3 strength 3 hits, +1 hit because of the extra rank of Skaven Slaves. So everything within d6, so everything within 1 inch, it's just Cairn Wraiths then, takes d3, 3 +1, so 4 strength 3 hits. It'd be hilarious if they actually did some damage here. 3 wounds, and they get a 2+ ward save for being ethereal. All 3 saved. So the the Skaven Slaves immediately break and scatter, and that was their part in the siege of Drakenhof. Next, we have Cruiser's unit attacking the zombies. They stand a much better chance, both because the unit is breached, they are not terrible, and they're not fighting bloody Cairn Wraiths. It will be Cruiser going first, and the zombies don't have a champion, so it's just, yeah. Actually, to be honest, they could have challenged. It doesn't matter. They won miserably. So, yeah. We have Cruiser, the champion, and then 8 clan rats. First of all, testing for fear on a 10, because it's Cruisers plus the strength in numbers bonus. They pass. They are not afraid of the zombies. Cruiser is too dumb to be afraid. Cruiser's attacks, 3. 2 wound, no armor. 10 clan rat attacks, because the champion gives a +1 to that. 6 hit, 1 wound, no armor. So total of 3 zombies destroyed. 10 zombies striking clan rats. 4. 3 wound, armor save. 1. I didn't give them spears because spears make no difference in siege combat. So they do get a parry. No parries. So 2 clan rats dead. Because they don't get any bonus from numbers, I don't think even banners make a difference, but I do have to double check that. Yeah, standards, ranks, nothing makes a difference. So a musician will still win a draw. Do I have a musician? I do! So the clan rats do win by virtue of having a musician. So yeah, literally having this musician, a thing which I rarely ever use in this game, actually made the difference here. So because it's a draw, because they get 2 for the kills, 1 for defending a fortress, they lose, and normally they would need to break to abandon it, but because it is a breached section, as denoted by the green, because it rhymes with breach. I know it doesn't, it's just the thing I'm saying. They do have to force... they are forced out. So they do have to leave as if they were abandoning it. So they do actually lose no extra models for this. You know, they don't lose any to unstable because they didn't lose by any. But yeah, they have now been forced out of the thing. So they're actually there, but you know, I'm just going to put them there just because that's where the base is. So yeah, Cruiser and his unit immediately occupy the wall. Next is Stilk the Dead Rat versus Yuri and the Graveguard. And because there is literally no reason for him not to do this, Stilk is going to challenge. I am curious, however. Oh, hang on. Right, I just had to double check if, like, this unit could fight again because they're now in an adjacent section, but no, they need to actually choose to assault it, I think. It's really not clear in the rules. But yeah, I'm going to say that they have to, like, effectively charge in, and it's not just a case of they're there, they can fight. So yeah, it's just Stilk versus Yuri and his lot, and Stilk is going to challenge because what bloody choice does he have? Also, I have just realised that Yuri has Fear Incarnate. Oh no, I think this one's Aura of Dark Majesty. So any enemies within 6 inches, that's the green circle, have -1 leadership. So actually, Cruiser should have been testing on 9. I think he still passed, but anyway. Something to try and remember for the future. But yes, Stilk versus Yuri. Yuri is going to accept the challenge. Stilk has to test his leadership. So with the -1 from the Dark Majesty, he's testing on a 5. Good luck. He passes. Wow. However, because he has Fear Incarnate, Stilk does have to re-roll the test. So on a 5, still passes. Wow. Despite, you know, effectively being already dead, Stilk is a dead rat walking, he is still resolute. So it's just him versus Yuri, because the Graveguard is just going to stand by and let the vampire kill the rat. Yuri goes first, he's faster. Not by much though. 4 hit, 1 wound, and he has no armor. he's dead because he took a wound from the rock, I think it was. So yeah, Stilk's dead. He did not last long. I forgot he had Frenzy, and if I'd remembered that, I would have positioned him better. Yeah. It's the real big downside with Clan Pestilence. They're really tough, but the Frenzy just makes them so unbloody reliable. Anyway, normally anything within 6 inches would now have to test, which is these 2 units, because a unit was just wiped out. But because of... I can't remember what I named it. Anyway, changes to homebrew rules... or my homebrew rules are changes to official rules, so units that are larger than, I think, like 1 or 5 or something like is on the screen, don't have to do a leadership test, a panic test if a lone character is destroyed. Yeah, no panic required. Next is the Hell Pit Abomination versus the Zombles. Normally the Hell Pit Abomination would do impact hits, but because it's assaulting a building, you don't. The Hell Pit Abomination doesn't need to test for... I'm going to stop calling it. I'm just going to call it the Bomber. Doesn't need to test for fear because it causes terror. So it is just straight into the combat. It has a higher initiative, so it has its special combat attacks. So this is a D6 to find out what attack it does. A 6. Avalanche of Flesh. Every model in base contact must pass an initiative test or suffer a strength 6 hit. And it inflicts 2d6 automatic hits against a single unit in base contact. In building assaults for special attacks like stomps and avalanches of flesh, a model is assumed to be in base contact with only 1 enemy at a time. So only 1 enemy in contact has to do the strength 6 hit, even though 10 can strike him back. But that's how the game works. Zombies have an initiative of 1, so they fail on anything apart from a 1. Yep, so that's 1 Zomble dead, horribly eaten or crushed or something. And then it does 2d6 automatic hits. Frickin' 2, are you kidding me? Sorry, that wasn't an automatic wound, that was a strength 6 hit. So effectively it's 3 strength 6 hits. Yeah, so that is 3 wounds anyway. Astounding, he rolled a bloody double 1 for the number of hits. Come on. Ridiculous. 10 zombies can strike back. 5 hit, bloody hell. 1 wound, and Mr. Bomb doesn't have any armor but does have a 4+ regeneration save, which it passes, so no damage back. Which means the zombies lose to the bomb. And like with this one, it is a breach section, so they don't need to break, they are just forced out of the section. We are now running out of space in the interior courtyard, with all of the zombies having to be forced into it. So I'm actually going to have to position these how they should be, because otherwise we're just going to run out of bloody space. So I'm just going to have to position them like that. And I'm going to move the cruiser and the thingy aside. And I guess the Hell Pit can take it, but I don't know if I should, because it's about to be their turn, and they can assault into there. And I'm not sure how I feel about the a bomber being assaulted by Yuri and his Graveguard. Like, killing blow's going to go straight through that, so I'm just going to... yeah, I'm going to wait. So I'm not going to take it, and he's just going to back up an inch. Next is the Hell Gate, with the Plague Sensor Bearers versus the Skeletons. I found another thing missing from the bloody book. In the Hellgate section, it says about how it can use a strengthful breath weapon. Breath weapons are used at the initiative of the unit using them. The Hellgate has no initiative, so where does it use the breath weapon? I assume last, but it doesn't say that. Ugh, sorry. Anyway, to begin with, the Plague Sensors carried by the Plague Sensor Bearers have an effect. These are basically poison gas spewing things. It's like a flail with constantly emitting poisonous gas. So every model in contact, including allies, have to take a toughness test, but the plague sensors will only fail on a 6. So basically all the plague sensors and 9 skeletons, because they're counted, the plague sensors are counted as in contact with only one enemy model at a time. So all 9 plague sensors and 9 skeletons have to take toughness tests. So 8 ordinary sensors, because there is a champion, 1 fail. They do count for combat resolution, so with the 1 gone, that is 1 more to the skeletons, and the champion is fine, and the skeletons have a toughness of 3, so only 2, 2 passes, 7 skeletons are destroyed. Sorry, I did that a bit weirdly because I rolled it as like a plus for the thingies. It doesn't matter. Anyway, yeah, just trust me that I'm correct with this. Yeah, a lot of trust going on today. Right, so that is 7. Nope, not all of them. So that is 7 skeletons destroyed by poisonous gas. So that's bad for them, really. Sorry, another thing I've just noticed is missing. I was just like double checking when I use the hang on, what's this? Hellgate. So these are skeletons too. Yeah, I was checking when I use the boiling oil. Doesn't say. Just says maybe use once per battle. Place the round template within 3 inches of of the unit, and any model undertakes a strength 4 hit. Doesn't say when. I assume it's a shooting attack. Or done in the shooting phase. I guess that's when I'm going to do it, but like it doesn't bloody say. And now is the combat. So first of all, we have to test for panic. So are they within range of cruiser? I mean, technically cruiser is counted as this whole thing, so yes, because from there they are, I think, just within range. I'm going to have to measure it. Yes, a range of 12, so as the crow flies they are within 12 inches of this piece of terrain, and therefore within 12 inches of cruiser. So they can use his leadership, which is a 7. They don't get any additional for the rank, so they're just testing on a 7, which they just pass. Plague Sensor Bearers have Frenzy and Hatred. Oh yeah, I did also forget that Yuri gets Frenzy and Hatred. Doesn't matter, he murdered him. Really doesn't matter. So yeah, that means that the Plague Sensor Bearers, the ones in contact, which, because this is an assault, all of them count as in contact. So they all get 1 extra attack, and they can reroll to hit. Oh yeah, no, I did forget to do Thunderstomp from the Helped Abomination. So yeah, Helped Abomination, sorry, I'll come back to the thingy. Helped Abomination gets a Thunderstomp. 1, of course, so frickin' hell. This Helped Abomination is barely trying. So it can just... No, alright, whatever. It doesn't want to stomp anything. Why would it? Why would it want to stomp anything? That would be fun. So I believe there are a total of 25 attacks, because the ordinary ones, of which there are 7, have 3 each, because it's 2 plus 1 for the Frenzy, and then the Champion has 3 normally, plus 1 for the Frenzy, so that's a total of 25. 10, 17, rerolled to bloody 21. The Plague Sensors they're wielding are also flails, so in the first round of combat they have +2 strength. 8 wounds. Total of bloody 17 wounds. And at that strength they have no armor, but I think they will get a parry. Fairly sure, yeah, no spears. So we have 17 parry saves. Fairly sure you can use a parry save in a building. I did earlier, so I'm just going to keep going with it. Wow, miraculously 4 saved, 13 skeletons destroyed, leaving just 3 left. Oh, damn. I don't have space for all of these. Oh no, 4 left. I forgot there was 1 in here as well. 5 skeleton attacks back. 2. 1 wound, and they have no armor. And then finally the Hellgate itself can use a Strength 4 breath weapon, which inflicts an automatic 2d6 hits on an enemy. So it deals 4 hits, resulting in 2 more wounds. Again, no armor. So at the end of that, the Plague Sensors win by 15. However, this is not breached, and therefore they are just pushed back. They do not... like, the battle doesn't continue into the next round because of how building assaults work, and the skeletons would normally have to test for not panic breaking, but they're unbreakable. Oh, sorry, they are unbreakable. They are also unstable, so all of them do die. I forgot that bit. Yeah, 15 skeletons get destroyed, and that's all of them gone. So, in that case, they can just move in and claim the gate. So, in the first bloody round of the game, the gate has fallen. So now units can, like, Skaven units can move through the Hellgate freely. So, bloody hell. Sorry, that wasn't me clapping, that was me sort of wiping my hands. We're done here type thing. I don't even want the ram to destroy it then. I can't even move the ram elsewhere, it's just stuck here now forever because you can't turn it. Okay, and then finally we have Skaven Slaves versus Skeletons over on this side. They are not within range of Gritcher, so they are testing on their own, which is 2 plus 3 for the number of ranks. So they're testing on a 5 for fear. Not that it really makes a difference. They fail. Not that it really makes a difference. Yeah, it actually makes 0 difference whatsoever. Either way, they're hitting on a 4+. Skaven Slaves are faster. 8 hit. 4 wound. Armor. 4 fail. Parry. 4 fail. So that is 4 skeletons destroyed. 11 skeleton attacks because of the champion. 7. 4 wound. Armor. 1. Parry. 1. So overall, only 2 Skaven Slaves die. Literally the weakest, worst soldiers in the entire game actually won a straight combat. So they don't get any for their rank. The one for defending the fortress is already counted. So the Skaven Slaves win. And because it is a breached wall, they force them out. So the skeletons in the right wall are forced out. They don't even get to use their boiling bloody oil. I mean, they've still got it, I guess, because it's with the unit. But yeah, it's weird that the boiling oil is a unit thing. It's literally 250 points per unit. But anyway, so the Skaven slaves have now moved in and are claiming this wall. So that's actually in the first turn of the game. In the very first turn of the game, both the gate and this wall objective are now in Skaven hands. Is it just me who sees something wrong with this scenario? And with that, we go into Sylvania Turn 1. Bloody 2.5 hours into the recording. Also to mention, because the skeletons on the gate were wiped out, the boiling oil they had is also gone. Maybe that should have been done in the combat phase, but again, didn't say. First of all, these skeletons are going to reform to turn around. Oh yeah, sorry, charges. Both the Cairnwraiths and Yuri's Graveguard are going to assault this wall piece, because there is actually nothing on this one, and therefore no reason Yuri can't focus entirely on Cruiser. Same with here, Manfred's Graveguard is going to assault the Skaven slaves. Like, I could also assault them with the zombies, but there is no point. To be honest, no, there's point here because the Cairnwraiths are incredibly good. But yes, over here the zombies aren't going to contribute more than the Graveguard. Are there enough Graveguard? Yes, there are. So, yeah, those skeletons reform. Over here, these zombies are going to reform, and I'm going to have to carefully select them. These zombies reform, and these zombies reform. Although, hang on. A unit can garrison an unoccupied building if it moves into contact with it during the movement phase. Doesn't say forwards. So because it's unoccupied, this one, the zombies are going to back into it and immediately capture it again. I did not realise that when I left it unattended. And the Blood Knights, they have frenzy, so they are going to have to test or charge. Again, I should have done this before the reforming and stuff, but whatever. Yeah. Like, 2 bloody great Blood Knights, what are they supposed to do? I mean, they're really good, but there are 2 of them against 5, and it'll be the first round of combat, and they're in a bloody Hellgate. I suppose it's exactly why I've got them. They're the hardest hitting thing in this force, apart from Manfred and Yuri, so yeah, I'm gonna have to hope that they get healed. So, I believe they are within the minimum. They're 9 inches away. And even with the barding, that gives them a 9-inch minimum charge distance. So yep, they are just going to charge straight away. Magic! And this magic has to count. Oh no! 4. Channeling vampires. Nope. Channeling Skaven. Nope. Bloody... That's not going to count for much then, is it? Well, it basically has to be Manfred casting a middle upcast Invocation of Nehek. Because from here, a 12-inch range will hit the Blood Knights, the Skeletons. The zombies didn't actually get hurt, neither did these zombies. So actually it is literally just those 2. Because it can't quite reach those zombies. Can't reach those. What are the chances of getting a max upcast one? What's it, 18? 18 minus the 4 is a 12, which actually that is reasonably likely. That's over half chance, in which case it would also heal those zombies and those zombies. I will try it. God, I don't think I should. No, I think I should focus. It's not worth it just to save some zombies who are not actually really threatened at the moment. So yeah, I'm going to go with a middle upcast, which means I need to roll a total of 8 on 4 dice. Which I do, and I would have passed the other one as well, because level 4, so that would have brought it up to a 19, but I middle cast it. So, targeted ones recover d6 plus 4, because that's his wizard level, wounds. The Blood Knights only recover the wizard level. No, 1 plus the wizard level, so 5. Vampiric can never recover more than 1 wound, but that's vampiric models specifically, not vampiric units. Blood Knights, for all of their power, only have 1 wound each, so they can recover a lot. The things that can recover more, so the infantry, that's the Skeletons, recover 3 plus his level, so that is 7. So this is Skeletons 1, and you see why I segmented the dead pile for this one, because that was so much easier than having to count out and work out which ones were which. There they go. These zombies were unhurt. These zombies were unhurt. I think these ones were unhurt. Oh no, they weren't unhurt because they all took damage from the starvation. So actually, yes. Who is actually within 12 then? Are they? As the crow flies? I think they're exactly 12 away. Yeah, if I go right from the edge of that one to right to the edge of that one, that is at least that is less than 12. So these zombies recover. So they are the top right tower, and being zombles, they recover an additional D6 wounds when restored. So they get 7 plus 4, so these zombies recover 11, and these ones recover 8. So that's the front right wall. Oh yeah, and the Blood Knights, which is basically the whole point I cast that spell, they recover 1 plus the wizard level, so they recover 5, which is all of the Blood Knights recovered. How about that for a turnaround? Just in time for the assault. But before we do that, because I said that the boiling oil counts as a shooting attack, we can do some shooting attacks. Once per battle, place a small round template within 3 inches of the unit with the boiling oil. Any model under the template suffers a strength 4 hit with armor piercing. No scatter at all. So, it would hit D6 if I somehow poured boiling oil on the wall. I don't know how that would work. Are there any other places where it is actually a viable thing for me to do? Sort of no, because all the big units that attack the wall either died or won. Does Yuri's unit have it? It is the Blood Tower. No, they don't. So I could pour boiling oil on this wall or on this wall, but that's probably it. The funny thing about the boiling oil is if they didn't... it's the fact that these walls were breached. That is what has swung this battle so hard. Because if all of these weren't breached, then they would have held on. They would still be sort of back and forth in this combat, and they could just pour boiling oil down on the unit that had to back away because they didn't take the wall. But because they all 3 of these fell, then it's just not good. I could do the boiling oil on the Hell Pit Abomination, but the problem is it inflicts 1 strength 4 hit with armor piercing. That is going to do nothing to a bomber bomb. So actually I think I'm better off waiting and hoping that I have a better chance to do some real damage with boiling oil. So I guess straight on to Banshee actually. The Banshee, who is reminder part of the Cairnwraith unit, can make a special shooting attack, which can be done even if they charged or are engaged in combat. Has a range of 8, so it can hit the unit of Cruiser. 2d6 plus 2, and for each point that exceeds the target unit's leadership, it does a load of damage. So, that is 2d6 plus 2, a total of 9. With Cruiser, he has a leadership of 6 plus 1 for the Standard of Discipline, giving a total of 7, so that is 2 wounds inflicted upon Cruiser's unit, which is this one. So 2 clan rats die of fright. Now, what is the best order to do these combats? Probably taking out Cruiser early, because otherwise the Plague Sensors can benefit from his banner, which is technically the entire width of the wall. So yeah, let's do Cruiser's one first. So the Cairnwraiths and Yuri's unit are both attacking from other parts on the fortifications, and therefore Cruiser's unit do not gain the +1 for being charged on fortifications. The fortification is already breached, or still breached, or however you want to say it, so if they lose, then Cruiser's unit will be forced out regardless of whether they break or not. So first of all, I pick the assault team, so it's going to be Yuri, 7 Cairnwraiths, and 2 Graveguard, including the champion. So we're splitting it across there, but it has to still be the 10 model limit. And Yuri will challenge, which will be accepted by the Clan Rats champion, who just gets shoved forward by Cruiser. Double checking the rules of strength in numbers, it seems that it specifies their current rank bonus. When you're garrisoning a building, you technically have no rank bonus. So, by that logic, strength in numbers has no effect when they're garrisoning a building. This feels like a loophole, but is apparently how the rules work. There's a lot of that going around today. So that means when they test the fear against Yuri, they're testing just on Cruiser's leadership, which is 6 plus the standard for a 7. Which they hold massively well. Right, Yuri versus the Clan Rat champion. Yuri goes first. He has Frenzy and Hatred from the Blood Wall. Oh yeah, sorry, no, they do have to re-roll the test. I did forget that. And they have -1, actually. So, they fail. Okay, yeah, they fail. Oh no, they don't have to re-roll. Sorry, mounting rules on rules here. Cruiser has the battle standard. So, that means that would normally be a re-roll in their favour, but it specifically says when there is Fear Incarnate compared with the battle standard, they negate each other and there is no re-roll. So, they are going to be using the double 1 as the freaking result. Sorry, right. This is Yuri. So he has he has Frenzy and Hatred from the Blood Tower. So he has 5 attacks, 4 plus 1 for a Frenzy, with a reroll. I forgot to set a target for that. It was 3 plus, so that's 4 hit. Still just 4. And 3 wounds. So yeah, their Clan Rat champion is definitely dead. And because of overkill, that is 3 to the combat resolution, and I don't know why I gave them a combat resolution token on each side. They only need 1 per side. Oh, they do get a parry save. No, okay. Next is Cruiser attacking the Graveguard. 3 hit. 1 wound, armor, fail, and I gave them great weapons, so they cannot get a parry save. That is 1 Graveguard destroyed. Sorry, also I did forget that Manfred's Graveguard would have recovered 7 as well, so that's all 6. Nope, that's Graveguard 1. Which one's which? Graveguard 2. So Graveguard 2 has lost more than 7 because they got shot, didn't they? They got shot by the cannons. So yeah, they recover 7. Glad I remembered that. Next is the Clan Rats, and they're all going to go for Graveguard, because although they have a good armor save, it is lower than the 2+ ward for the Kenwraith Etherealness. 8 Clan Rat attacks. 1. No wound. And now it's everything hitting back. We have 21 Kenwraith attacks. 6. 12. They're great weapons, so +2 strength. 12 wounds. 12 wounds. Oh, God. Well, they get no armor, but they do get a parry save, saving a massive 1 of them. So that is bloody 11. And then finally, the Graveguard champion and an ordinary Graveguard. So 3 attacks, 2 hit. Also great weapons. So 3 wounds. Parry saved none, so 3 more. Wow, that is devastating. Nothing more gets added to the combat resolution. I mean, they are still forced out, aren't they, because it's breached. I am going to assume, like, again, it's not stated in the rules, but I assume that the forcing out happens after the break test? I'm guessing from the way it's phrased, if the attacker wins a combat against a breached fortress section, the defender is forced out even if they don't break. So I assume that means you do the break test, and then regardless of whether they pass or fail, they have to abandon, but 1 might mean they flee. So because of that, they are still technically holding a building when they take the break test, which I believe makes them steadfast. Yeah, so they are testing on cruisers 6 up to 7 because of the standard, down to 6 because of the Aura of Dark Majesty. They fail, so they break. So I don't actually need to roll for how far they flee, because they just abandon the building and they don't flee. So they are now considered fleeing. And one of the other things can move in to hold it, so that's going to be the Kenwraiths. Ooh, or Yeah, because they're just going to back into it if I don't. So yeah, the Cairn Wraiths are going to move into there to hold it, and then the zombies are just going to sit there. I suppose that would have been a reason to assault with the zombies as well. But yeah, anyway. Oh, yeah, I probably should have assaulted with the skeletons for that reason, but it doesn't matter. The reason I didn't is I was trying to avoid the trap of lots of units in a fight, and if they lose, then they all suffer, but in this case, combat has been very decisive one way or the other. Because I don't want to do Manfred's one yet, let's do the Blood Knights on the Plague Censer Bearers. So first of all, we do the Censer Bearer roll. So it's 5 and 5. The Blood Knights have to take a toughness test each, as do the Censer Bearers, but the Censer Bearers only fail on a 6, so they're all fine. For ordinary Blood Knights, 1 fails. And the champion also fails. Bloody hell. Alright, champion's dead. 1 other is dead. But there are still 3 Blood Knights. This is the problem with Blood Knights. There are so bloody few of them because they are so bloody expensive. They're genuinely like... I can't remember if they're 50 or 75 points each. They're incredibly expensive to the point where it's like... It doesn't really matter how good they are. They've got 1 wound each. For that cost, I really don't know if they're worth it. That counts for combat resolution, so 2 more. And the Blood Knights are actually faster. And a thing unique to the Blood Knights is that any model in the unit can challenge or accept challenges. So although there is no champion, the Plague Censer champion will challenge, and one of the ordinary Blood Knights will accept. And this is worth doing because the Blood Knights have 2 attacks each, so it limits it to a single kill, basically. But they are, just within range of Gritcher. Like, the Hellgate is just within Gritcher's 12-inch range. So they are testing on his leadership, which is 7, which they pass. And just to check, actually, they may be within range of... No, I don't think they are. I don't think this is 6 inches. Or maybe... maybe. Yeah, I'd say that's within 6 inches. So they actually have -1 leadership because of Yuri's aura being extended by being in a building. But either way, they do pass because that would reduce it down to 6. Challenge first, Blood Knight attacks. 2 hit. Okay, I see their worth. They've got strength bloody 5. 2 wounds. And no armor. So actually, they do actually get a 3rd attack, sorry. Because they've got frenzy. So that's a hit. No wounds. So it's still 2 wounds, and the champion is dead. Now the other 2 Blood Knights. 4 hit. 3 wounds. No armor. And that leaves a single Plague Censer Bearer to strike back against the Blood Knights. 2 attacks plus 1 for the frenzy, and as it's a new round of combat, a new sort of combat entirely, they have hatred again. So they get to roll a re-roll, sorry, so that's 3 hits, plus 2 strength from the flail, meaning 2 wounds, which is exactly how many they needed in order to kill... Hang on a sec, do they have lances? They do have lances. No, even with lances, it's still only 3 wounds, because the last one they got was a 1. So they don't get a parry, but they do get an armor save. 1 is passed, 1 is failed, so 1 Blood Knight is killed. They are back to where they were at the start of the turn, but the difference is they have probably defeated the Censer Bearers. So now only 1 horse gets to strike, because the other horse, like technically that was actually the one in my mind that was in the challenge. But yes, technically only 1 horse can still strike, because the other one was just killed. But it's not technically a horse, it's a nightmare, which is just like a demon horse, basically. Well, not a demon, a sort of a monster horse. 1 hit, but no wound. And at the end of the combat, because we add nothing else, the Blood Knights win by 1. So the Plague Censer Bearer is steadfast, but is within range of, what's his name, Gritcher, and within range of Yuri's, so is testing on a 6, which bloody holds. So actually, they do not take it. Because this one isn't breached, they do not automatically leave it. So the Blood Knights back up 1 inch, And that is the end of the combat. The Plague Censer Bearers somehow hold the Hellgate. And then this one we have Manfred and his Graveguard against Skaven Slaves. They are screwed. So it's going to be Manfred, the Graveguard champion, and 8 Graveguards versus 10 Skaven Slaves. I'd say they are not quite within the 12 inches from Gritcher to benefit from it. So they are, oh hell, they're on their own. Because they don't count as having any ranks, they've got a leadership of freaking 2. Not that it really matters for a fear test. Yeah, they fail. They would have failed regardless. Oh yeah, I probably should have reread Manfred's stuff. Sometimes it's in the sheet I have, sometimes it's not, and in this case it wasn't. Yeah, he can re-roll a Winds of Magic dice, he would have re-rolled the 1, and he gets plus D3 to his invocation casting, so I probably could have risked going for the higher casting. But anyway, Manfred has 5 attacks, 4 hit, 3 wound, none are parried. And for each unsaved wound caused by the Sword of Unholy Power, Manfred gains an additional dice at the start of the next magic phase. Next, it is the Skaven Slaves, as they are faster than the Graveguard, all striking at Graveguard. 2, 1 wound, armor is failed, so that is 1 Graveguard destroyed. And then that just leaves the Graveguard. 10 attacks, including the champion. 4. Oh. Whoops. I misread the sheet. I misread the sheet badly. Oh, buggery. These Graveguard do not have great weapons. They have shields, but these ones do have great weapons. Sorry, I didn't realise that Graveguard was on my sheet twice. Simply put, I have no idea how to work out what would have happened with this. It has such a knock-on effect. Like they had, I mean, they'd wounded on a 3 instead of a 2+, actually. Maybe it doesn't have that big a knock-on effect. There were only 3 Graveguard attacks, and I think it was here, because I think it was the 3, the 5, and the 6 to hit, and then the 2, the 3, and the 3 to wound, and instead that would only be 2 wounds instead of 3 wounds. So, although they failed all 3 of their things, 1 would still be alive. So I'll just stick him back in there. It wouldn't have changed them breaking because they rolled an 8 and he had like a 6 or something, so even if it was a 7, they still would have broken. So actually, yeah, all that difference made is saved 1 Clamrat. Okay, that could have been worse. Back to it. 4 Graveguard attacks with great weapons. 3 wounds. None were parried. So that is 3 more Skaven Slaves. That's the back row gone. Not the rows matter here. Meaning the Graveguard win by 5. So the Skaven Slaves are going to have to test on a double 1 because it is insane that they don't get any bonus from, no matter how many of them are crammed into a building, they're all as if I'm completely alone in this building. So I may have to homebrew that in the future because that is absurdly broken. And yeah, they do flee, so they are going to break, and Skaven Slaves, when they break, explode, basically. So they hit everything within 1 inch, which is just stuff in contact. So that's going to be the zombies and the Graveguard. I mean, technically the skeletons are 1 inch away. So yeah, I'm going to say it hits the skeletons as well, because they moved exactly 1 inch away and then reformed, so they should still be exactly 1 inch away. So yeah, that is actually, despite rolling the frickin' minimum, that's still 3 units they get hit by their scattering, which is D3 plus 2 hits, for a total of 4 hits. Against the zombies, that's 1 wound. Against the skeletons, that's 1 wound. Not saved. Against the Graveguard, 2 wounds. 1 not saved. That is another Graveguard gone. And here they're going to leave it unoccupied because the skeletons are going to move back in there on their next turn. So overall, that they actually managed to turn that around a lot more than I expected to. I thought they were completely screwed when they just got demolished and had 4 bloody walls get beaten. But no, they've actually done a decent job at reclaiming it. As we go into Deathtoll, turn 2. Right, what's the best way to do this? We're going to have to do a load of charges again. We're going to have to assault the walls again. Suddenly, the assault is feeling a bit less secure. So we could attack Yuri's tower. It's still the hardest bloody point to attack. Let's start off with assaulting this wall. So that they need a 12. They've got a movement of 5, so they need to roll a 7, which they fail. So good job there. They just totter forward 5 inches to there. Welp. The storm vermin. Can they take the Graveguard? I don't know. Can Gritcher take Manfred? Probably not. Oh, I really don't know. I was hoping to whittle it down more with shooting, but like Manfred is a very dangerous thing to be left on that tower. Yeah, I kind of don't think I want to attack either tower because they're too rock hard. I think I'm much better off shooting the towers with heavy weaponry and hoping that I can kill stuff that way rather than risking my men who are completely non-replenishable against units which are replenishable. So I think that is actually it. I don't think I'm trying any more charges. God, that feels pitiful on the second turn. I'm already out of impetus, but let's do the cruiser trying to recover. Is he now out of the range of Yuri von Karstein's effect? No. So they still have -1s. They're testing on a 6, which they pass. And hang on a sec. Alright, I have remembered that they do have a musician, meaning they get +1 on their rally. However, their standard bearer is dead because they fled. So I have remembered that as well. But I don't think the skeletons one is dead because they didn't technically flee, they just abandoned the building. So I don't think that counts. Anyway, yes, they recover. So they are going to reform to turn around. And then over here, I think the Rat Ogres are also going to reform to face that way because they are lining up to charge the breach instead. I think that's what I have to do here. Maybe this is more balanced than I first thought. You know, like I said, this is the first time playing a siege game. The meta is going to change quickly until I settle into it. But yeah, maybe the breaches are so vulnerable because the towers are virtually unassailable, which sort of makes sense in a siege way. Oh yeah, more compulsory movement. We have a Bomber Bomb who is going to... I mean, there's no point in me rolling. This is literally less than 3 inches away, so he's just going to charge straight back in. And over here, a Bomber Bomb 2 also charges in because he was also less than 3 inches away. Next, the Ram is going to move a little further forward and then stop, because at the moment there is no point to breaching the Hellgate. Chich is going to move up to there, so he's still safely within range of some Skaven slaves as cover. And I would move the Storm Vermin forward, but I kind of want the Warp Fire Thrower to still have clear line of sight. Magic 6. And Manfred gains 3 dice to this because of 3 wounds caused by the Sword of Unholy Power. Channeling Vampires, 1. Channeling Chich, none. It is a really rare day when a side has considerably more Dispel dice than there are power dice. But it's just whether I want to cast Warp Lightning on max power. I mean, I suppose it's literally the only option here. Unless I wait for a magic turn in which it's not going to happen. But basically, the vampires are going to dominate magic now because Manfred's a 4th level. And we have frickin' 1 spell. Yeah, I may as well. Like, I don't value Chich enough to not do this. So let's go with a max, or an upcast Warp Lightning. So he needs a 12 minus his level of 2. So I'm just going to use 6 dice to try and get 10. It's irresistible. So this does 2d6 strength 5 hits against Manfred's unit. I didn't mean to roll 1 to time, so a 2 and a 3. So 5 hits. I'm determined to do some bloody damage here. 5 wounds, and do these get armor saves? Yes, they do. Not much of an armor save. 1 still saves, so 4 Graveguard are destroyed. I would really, really laugh if Chich also gets his level reduced. 7. No, he detonates. Oh no, all models in base contact with the wizard, but not the wizard himself. So yeah, they're fine. They are like a step too far away to get hit by just the area around Chich, the air next to him just spontaneously combusting. No effect at all. Shooting. We are going to be taking on some towers now because the Warp Fire Thrower can. So, let's go with warp firing at the Blood Tower. Again, aiming this way so that it goes along the line and hopefully does not go far enough to hit the Hellgate. So it flies 6 inches, taking it, to there, which does hit all bloody 3 of these. And yeah, it can hit into combat because it's a template, and I think that's fine. So yeah, it deals d6 hits to all 3 of these. And it is also a Warpstone weapon, the Warp Fire Thrower. It is powered by Warpstone, which means it counts as a magical weapon, so the ethereal Cairn Wraiths only get a 5+ ward instead of the 2+. d6 on the Cairn Wraiths, 5, 4 wounds, 1 save. So that is 3 Cairn Wraiths get destroyed by magical fire. d6 on the Blood Tower, 6, 4 wound. They do get an armor, 1 pass, 3 destroyed. And then the zombies, 6 as well. Very effective. 6 wounds, they have no armor. So that is 6 zombies destroyed. Sorry, the Cairn Wraiths have multiple wounds. Missed that. So yeah, that's 3 wounds. So only 1.5 are actually destroyed. My bad. Ooh, although it inflicts d3 wounds per wound, so I'm going to have to roll this for the 3, because if it rolls a 2 or a 3, then they could be destroyed anyway. So there were 3 of them, so the first one, ooh, that's a bit close to the camera, 1's destroyed, second one, also destroyed, third one, also destroyed. So yeah, we're back to all 3 being destroyed because of the multiple wounds. Not bad. This is why I brought the Warp Fire Throw, because I knew it would be devastating against fortifications like this. Next, the Warp Lightning Cannon. I could go for Manfred's thing, which is a little bit depleted. No, alright, I'll come back to that. I'll do the Warp Fire Throw, which is definitely going for Manfred's. So again, that is aiming down the line. There's nothing really for it to risk hitting, so it goes an artillery... 10 inches. That is massively overshooting Manfred. And it goes down this line 10 inches. Still hits Manfred, because actually 10 inches is not that much. So yes, that hits Manfred and a few of the skeletons, but that is it. No one's on this wall, and it doesn't hit this wall. So it does d6 hits against Manfred's Graveguard unit. 6. 5 wound. 1 past armor, 4 Graveguard destroyed, which actually takes them below the 10, so if they were to be assaulted now, that would have a great effect. And then, where do you read this from? It's really quite high up in comparison. You see, what I generally try and do when I'm looking down on this is I try and line it up so that the little sort of sticky up bit is flat, but I'm not sure that counts in this case, because, like, you know, you can see just how much the perspective can affect it. It's like, oh, that's covering half the unit, but like clearly it's not. So it's really, really hard to tell. I'm inclined to go with from like about this height. So I would say that is hitting 5 skeletons, including the champion, who gets a Lookout Sir on a 2+. He is fine. So that's 5 ordinary skeletons. 5 wounds, and at that strength, they get no armor. Again, not bad shooting by any means. So I think the Warp Lightning here is going to go for Manfred's Tower, and I may still go for it with this one, because if we can like wipe out Manfred's Tower and then claim that, then we can sort of start folding up this side. It's the less important side, but it will still make a big difference to take out Manfred. So let's go with a cannon. Damn, actually pretty much spot on. Right there. Actually, I made the mistake there. And then it overshoots by misfire. Bugger. on the misfire chart. 1. Remove the cannon. Okay. For this, I'm treating it as suddenly things crawl out of this graveyard and just start dragging the crew away. And they just didn't see it coming. Alright, in that case, this one is going for Manfred's tower instead. I'm determined to do some bloody damage to this tower. So I'm aiming there, because then that's 6 inches short of the tower. So it overshoots by, don't be a misfire, 6, perfect. So that hits directly on this tower, pretty much right there. It bounces and has a strength of 10. Yes! So it just goes through there. I don't need to bother placing the template at the end. But yeah, it hits this building for D6 hits at strength 10. Come on, come on, come on. Yes! This is going to do some damage. No armor saves are going to be allowed at all. And that is 6 wounds as a bolt of warp lightning smashes through one side of this tower and out the other. So that was 6 wounds. That is actually the entire Graveguard unit, and it is just Manfred left. Bloody hell. Oh, sorry, my mistake. Again, I forgot there was one I put on the bloody tower. So there is actually 1 Graveguard left, and it is the champion. So there's just Manfred and the Graveguard champion in this tower. And the rest are dead. But that does mean he can resurrect them. Combat. We only have the 2 bomber bombs. So let's go with this one over here. It doesn't do any impact hits, but it does a random attack. 3 flailing fists makes 3d6 attacks. And any enemy unit that suffers a wound has -1 to hit for the remainder of the phase. 3d6 attacks is 9. 9 hits. 8 wounds, no armor. Because of the -1 to hit, the zombies are only hitting on a 6. 2 hit. Bloody 2 wounds, miraculously. Has a 4+ regeneration. A double... I can't believe that. On a 6 to hit, they took off 1/3 of its wounds. Wow. The zombies do still lose by 5. However, they don't need to test because they're unbreakable. They do, however, lose 5 more zombies to unstable. And then the bomb backs off an inch. And over here we do the same thing again. So it has a random attack. 6, Avalanche of Flesh. A single model has to take an initiative test, and then it does 2d6 automatic hits. It fails, so that's 2d6 plus 1 automatic hits. 6 total. 5 wound, no armor. I think a downside of this way of showing siege combat is, like, you guys don't see these units depleting in the same way. I'm actually going to leave that there because I might need that. No, I can just copy it again. But yeah, like you don't see how this unit is now getting quite small, and how the front right wall, this one here, is pretty big still. 10 zombie attacks, 2, 1 wound. They are crazy good at wounding this thing, or these things rather. Not regen, so that is 1 wound off this bomb. That is still not enough to save it, however. And because it is breached, they are forced out. So they don't need to take a break test, but they do lose 3 more zombs to instability, unstableness, stabilitude, and then the zombies are forced out once more. And the question is, do I now push in with the Hell Pit Abomination? Because I don't know. It depends on whether I plan to assault the Blood Tower or not. I kind of don't think I do. I'm doing alright shooting it. We're only on turn 2, so I've got plenty of time, and you know, there's no relief force coming. So I'm fine to just keep chipping away at them, really. So yeah, I'm not going to take it, and I'm just going to back up an inch. You know what I probably could have done here? I could have probably, you know, attacked with the Plague Sensor instead of waiting to get charged by the Blood Knights, but whatever. And with that, we go into Sylvania Turn 2. Time for Sylvania to take the castle back. So, we'll start off with the Blood Knights charging in, so that they can retake that. The skeletons will occupy this one. The Cairn Wraiths are probably good covering this side. So, what I will do... yeah, okay. I will once again back up the zombies to claim this one, so that we stop them coming in, and it's relatively easy to recover some zombies, so hopefully I will be able to do that. And I think it might be an idea, I don't know, I'm tempted to like turn the zombies around and move them towards the Hellgate, because the Blood Knights are not built for holding a thing. They're really good on the charge, and there aren't enough for any kind of protracted combat. So, I'm thinking I will reform the zombies to face that way, and the base is messing up more and more. I'm just going to have to fix this. There. So, they're not actually clipping the wall at all, but yeah, so they are going to plan to move into the Hellgate as soon as it is no longer occupied. And I think that's it. Like, this is now the only one that is actually being held by the enemy. So yeah, that is probably enough for movement. I forgot to test for the gutter runners arriving. I was all paying attention, and then I missed that bit, so that should have been at the beginning of turn 2. I'm just going to assume they failed it, because it would change too much to have them come on now. Magic 7. I think I will re-roll the 2 into a 4, because that is Manfred's something, one of his many tricky abilities. Channeling vamps? Nope. Channeling rats? Nope. So we have considerably more to play with magically. So, we desperately need to do some reviving, because there is only the Graveguard champion left, and Manfred, and that is all that is holding this tower, which is about to be stormed by, well, storm vermin, no pun intended. So, what do we do there? Well, it's going to have to be an invocation, but I don't know when. Something that this sort of layout of the board and stuff does lend itself to is magical vortexes. Similar to how the the warp fire throwers are just shredding through the defense because they can just arc and hit multiple parts at once. Something like a Wind of Death or a Purple Sun could just come out from here, and then because basically, 2/3 of the board is entirely Skaven territory, you can just have this stuff sort of flying around here, and it can basically only help. That said, if it does somehow scatter back onto the fortress, there's no avoiding it. I reckon we're going to start with a Spirit Leech from Manfred towards Gritcher, because he's within 12 inches, so the minimum. That means he only needs a 7, so he can cast that on 2 dice, because he only needs to roll a 3. He's a 4th level wizard. Yeah, let's go with just 2 dice on this. Bloody 10 plus his thing, that's 14. That is actually going to be rather hard to dispel. Yeah, they're going to need 4 dice to have a decent chance of dispelling that. That is shocking. So yeah, to guarantee it, to make it worth it, they're going to have to use all 5 dice. Otherwise, Gritcher may be dead. Then again, he's got a leadership of 7 and Manfred has 10. So there's only a difference of 3 plus whatever the rolls they have. So that's not dire, but that doesn't bode well for Gritcher. Yeah, I think they're going to have to throw everything into dispelling it. I don't want to lose Gritcher at this point. And although it really sucks to have to use 5 dice to dispel a 2 dice spell, like, what else are they going to do? They're going to revive a load of guys, we can kill them again. So yeah, I think it's more important that Gritcher survives, because he's a bit of a linchpin on this side of the board. So 5 dice to dispel, 13 plus 2, so they frickin' only just dispelled it. They used 2 dice to cast it, and they barely dispelled it on 5, because it was total of 10 plus 4 for his level, total of 14, and then they rolled 13, and Chich is at level 2, so add 2 to it, 15. So yeah, they dispelled it by 1, and now they're out of dice. So that means they're free to do stuff in whatever order they want. They're going to do the most important stuff first. Manfred is going to do an Invocation of Nehek. At what range? Yeah, I think a mid-cast will hit this tower and all the way down to the Blood Knights. Won't get anything on this side, but that's okay because Yuri is down there. So, mid-cast Invocation of Nehek needs a 12, minus his level needs a 4. So he's going to use 3 dice. That is 12 plus his level. So that is cast. Each one recovers d6 plus 4 because of his level. So first of all, Zombles, they recover 2d6 plus 4 because they are newly dead. So they get a total of 10. That unit's looking a lot healthier now. The skeletons, I don't actually know how many they're missing, but they get 1d6 plus 4. So they recover 5. They are skeletons 1. So they do have enough to recover 5. Also looking kinda healthy. Manfred's Graveguard, d6 plus 4. 9, very nice. Including the Battle Standard Bearer, and I just broke them because they hit a tower as I was moving them over. Fuck. Just found a spider crawling on my bloody microphone because we're getting into summer and it's getting hot and they do that sort of thing now and I hate it. So there we have the Graveguard in the bottom right tower. They're now up to 10 and Manfred. And these zombies, again 2d6 plus 4, 12. This unit's actually getting pretty big because it's completely unblooded so far. You know, as unblooded as zombies ever are, I guess. And then finally, the Blood Knights. Yeah, I don't even need to roll because they recover 1 plus 5. Sorry, 1 plus 4, so they recover all of their knights back again. Keeping them within range of Manfred is incredibly good for their longevity. I think I will go with a minimum cast invocation from Yuri, which I think will actually still hit them. Yeah, still hit them because he can cast from any point in the tower, essentially. So, minimum cast needs a 6 minus his level of 2, so needs a 4 on 2 dice, which he gets. So the zombies, and the Kitten Wraiths, oh, and his Graveguard all recover d6 plus 2. Oh no, the Kitten Wraiths don't because they're ethereal, but zombies directly above him. 4, I forgot they actually get a second dice. So 10 plus 2, 12. This is a much needed recovery for these guys because they were getting pretty depleted by that bomba. These zombies, there is actually limited space to place them, so I'm probably going to run out of space before I run out of ones to place. So that is 6 plus 2, and like that, we are now into more zombies than we started the game. So how many of these can I actually fit here? Probably just those 2, because I think one here is going to, eclipse the terrain, so actually I can only place 2 zombies. So, alright, these are just going back in the dead pile then. Okay, the way it works for ethereal models, or rather the way it works for multi-wound models like the Cairn Wraiths, all models in the unit must be fully healed before another can be resurrected. So, I believe we have an injured one? No, we do not. So, that's the only thing that can come back is one Cairn Wraith on one wound. Because they can, being ethereal, they can never recover more than 1 wound. And you can't bring a new one back until he's fully healed. By the way, I now feel incredibly anxious after finding that spider literally like 3 or 4 inches from my face and probably about the same distance from my hand. It's freaked me out. But Yuri's Graveguard, they recover d6 plus 2. So that is 4. I do not know how many are missing from his. I assume this is Grave 1. Yes it is, so that is easily 4. So that is also looking a little bit healthier. Let's go with Caress of Lenif on Gritcher, because I've only got 2 dice left. Yeah, I think there's a pretty damn high chance of that going through and could do some damage. So Caress of Lenif is basically needs a 2 on 2 dice, which it barely gets. The target takes a number of hits equal to 2d6 minus their strength, which wound on a 4+, no armor. 2d6 minus Gritcher's strength, which is 4, So he takes 5 hits that wound on a 4+. That is 2 wounds, no armor saves allowed, and Gritcher has no kind of ward save, so he just takes 2 wounds, because most of his protective is in his armor save. So that's pretty devastating. And also, as I recall, life leeching. When a spell of this lore is successfully cast, roll a d6 for each unsaved wound, and on a 5+, add a power dice. So they may get some more power. They do, they get 2 more bloody power dice, so that was basically a free cast. I think the last 2 dice I'll go with a Gaze of Nagash against the Warp Fire Thrower near Manfred's Tower. It does get a ward save for being within 3 inches of his parent unit, but taking that thing out will probably do a lot of good for the vampire cause. So he needs a 5 on 2 dice, which he gets. So that deals 2d6 strength 4 hits, 6, pretty good chance to wound, 2, and it has a 4+ ward save, and it saves both. So, funnily enough, the 4+ ward save doesn't count as a look out sir type thing. It's just a case of, I guess it ducks behind and the shots go wide for some reason. Bit weird, but that's how it works. Who has boiling oil? These zombies do. No one they can use that on. The top right tower zombies do. I suppose they could. It seems, it's beginning to seem unlikely that they're going to have other targets, but I might hold on to that. The right wall, again, no targets, and the bottom right tower, they've got to place it within 3 inches. Alright, there's as close as I can get it. 3 inches is not close enough. Okay, so they cannot use the boiling oil on anything. But the Tomb Banshee in the Cairnwraith unit can attack, so it's going to use its Ghostly Howl on Cruiser's unit. 2d6 plus 2, so 7. They are probably still... Yep, they are still within 6 of Yuri. Did I say that was 7, or did I say that it was a 6? Anyway, I rolled a 4 plus 2, so a 6. That is actually his leadership, so it has no effect. Combat, I believe there is just the Blood Knights again. So, first of all, one Blood Knight has to take a toughness test against the Plague Sensor, which it passes. Between all 5 knights, they have 16 attacks. They do go first. I do need to test for fear. So testing on a 5, because I don't think they're within range. Oh yeah, I decided they were. So they're testing actually on higher than 5, so they pass. Still 16 Blood Knight attacks with lances. 12 hit. Goodbye, Sensor. Yep, he's dead. Okay. Yeah, they're gone. Good effort. And now stuff within 6 inches is going to have to test because it was wiped out. So the Skaven slaves, and I think that's probably it, because everything else is either... actually, is it unbreakable? It is not unbreakable. It just has terror. So the Hell Pit, a bomb, the Skaven slaves, but I think that's it. I think, yeah, he's out of range. And yeah, so Hell Pit Abomination has a leadership of 8 and passes just. Skaven slaves are within range of Gritcher, so they are on a 7 plus their rank, so they are testing on a 10. And this is the importance of keeping Gritcher alive. They pass. And then the Blood Knights, I think, are not going to occupy. They are much better continually attacking things from the inside. And with that, we go into Deathtoll turn 3. And I need to roll for Sneaky Infiltrators. So this is a 4+ normally, and I believe you add 1 to the roll for each successive turn. So I'm going to count the turn 2 roll as a fail. So this one is actually arriving on a 3+. Nope, not arriving this turn either. So do I want Cruiser to charge the Cairnwraith building? Probably not. Oh god, like what am I even doing over here? I think I now do want to charge Manfred's unit. He's got his numbers back, so he's got his 10 people again, but he's too dangerous to be left untouched. You know, there are other things I can burn, but I need to kill Manfred. Nope, sorry, I need a roll for charge. So that is 8 inches, so they need a 3, which they should be able to get, unless I'm very unlucky, but I am not today. Yay! So Gritch's unit, charge Manfred's tower. I could move the slaves into the Hellgate or charge the zombies, but I don't think I want to do either. If they move into the Hellgate, they're just going to get killed by the Blood Knights. So I think I'm better off, you know, burning everything. Sadly, there isn't width enough for the Rat Ogres to charge the Cairnwraith wall. That really sort of sucks. Particularly as I do have to test for them to make sure they don't go Frenzy and charge the Blood Tower, because they do have Frenzy and they can charge. Did I give them Strength in Numbers before? Because they don't have that. I don't remember if I did, but yeah, they're testing on a 5 with a reroll. They fail, and the reroll, they pass. Whoa, that was lucky. So they don't have to charge, because I don't want them to. Yeah, I don't want them to charge. I think Cruiser and his lot are going to move 2.5 inches left, because they can move directly sideways at half movement, and then that will leave enough space for the Rat Ogres to charge this next turn. I do have to remember that because there is no relief force coming, I can take my time with it. We're only in turn 3 of 5. It's better I soften them up even more before I send my guys in to die horribly. Compulsory movement, we have the bombs. So they are both going to move 3d6. I'm not going to adjust where they go, so they're just going to charge straight back into the combat, as they do. Same with up here. Although actually, I don't know. I may just be completely wasting my time here, because the plan, you see, was for him to just like smash through this force of zombies and then move down the wall. But I'm not sure that's the best method here, because the zombies are bloody numerous. Front right wall is this one. So yeah, this one and this one are the most numerous zombies, or the most numerous units on the board, apart from maybe Yuri's one. So it kind of feels stupid to repeatedly smash my head against this thing that is killing me when it has absolutely no strategic value, and they're really probably not going to do much anyway. So I think instead I'm going to pivot that way and aim at, split the difference. So aiming sort of over here, in order to charge this one instead. So it moves a total of 11 inches. That is, should be plenty to go over here. Yeah. So it's instead charging this wall, because screw this one, it is worthless. Magic, 7. Channeling vampires, no. Channeling Chich, 1. Not that it makes any difference, because, as you know, he has one thing he can do. Right wall. Are they dead? Yes, they are. These these rats are dead. Sorry, I just suddenly noticed there were Skaven slaves on a wall, and it's just like, but there aren't. So yeah, then they're not. Anyway, yeah, there's only one spell I can cast, and it is Warp Lightning. The target that he's been shooting it at is now in combat, so he can aim for... I mean, he could probably aim over that. Like, he does have line of sight to this tower, because it is a tower. It is pretty tall. 24 inches, I'm fairly sure he's within range. Yeah, he is. So he's actually going to Warp Lightning Yuri's tower instead. See if we can soften that up, because I do need to take that tower at some point. So I'm going to have to use 6 dice. Upcast. So he needs I've forgotten what he needs. He got a 19, not irresistible. He needed a 12 minus his level, a 10. So he got that. And then Manfred is going to try and dispel it with his +4 for his level. Giving him, yep, that is an equal, actually. Because 19 plus 2, 21, 17 plus 4, 21. And to dispel, I'm fairly certain, and I always double check this just because it sort of goes against all logic of meets it, beats it. I don't think that dispels it. I swear it didn't say that last time I looked, because I swear like it was always a weird thing that it's not a meet it or beat it. But yeah, it is, must meet or beat. Really? God, don't you hate it when that happens? And you're like, I'm certain this is the case. And then, like, you think to yourself, I've looked this up multiple times, and I'll just check it one more time. Why is it different? Okay. The thing I'm reading says, add the wizard's level, and it must equal or beat the casting result to succeed in the dispel. So yeah, that's dispelled, because it meets it, beats it. What was it that isn't a meets it, beats it? I swear that was dispelling. Warp fire. I'm going to warp fire Yuri's building again, because why not? It's actually gone really, really well so far. So it flies a total of 4 inches forwards. I mean, at the range it's shooting, it's literally guaranteed to hit. So it actually hits, again, both the Cairnwraith building and the Blood Tower. So the Cairnwraiths take D6 hits. 4. Only 2 wounds, that's really unlucky. And they are ethereal, so get a 5+, because it is a magical attack. So that is 2 wounds against the Cairnwraiths. So that is the one that they just got back, and 1 more. And Yuri's building, 5. Again, a couple of 1s, only 3. They get an armor that none of them save, so that is 3 Graveguard destroyed from the Blood Tower. A drop in the bucket. Still looking very healthy as a unit. Over here, the Warp Fire Thrower is also going to throw Warp Fire, as it is wont to do. And I'm aiming it this way. So logically it will hit the zombies and hopefully the Blood Knights beyond. So that flies 10 inches. That may overshoot everything. I'm not entirely sure. So that goes this way, 10 inches. No, that is actually bloody slap bang on top. So, ooh. I think that does clip it. It's very hard to tell. I think it just about clips this building. Because, yeah, there is that little bit right there where it is out over the top of that building. So there's no one in the Hellgate, so no one in the Hellgate can boin. But I would say, again, it's really hard to tell because of the bloody... And apologies about like all of the circles. Like I don't even see them anymore, but like looking at it like this, I can see how it could be confusing that there are all these circles. But to me, I just blot them out now. Yeah, I would say that is 3. Yeah, looking directly down, I'd say that is 3 Blood Knights hit. Again, a 1. 2 wounds. Still a pretty decent armor save. Only 1 failed. So that is 1 Blood Knight gone again. Leaving just the Warp Lightning Cannon, which I guess is going to go for Yuri's tower. Because, yeah, it's just been sort of shooting at one of these 2 towers. They are the biggest threats in this game. And I swear there was a rule that said if a cannonball hit a building, it stopped. Like, it does. There is a rule saying that if a cannonball hits an obstacle, it stops. But I can't seem to find anything definitively saying about a building as well. It makes sense that it would, because, you know, if literally a wooden fence can stop a cannonball, surely a giant fortification can. But rules as written, I can't find anything that says it. So if there is that, let me know in the comments, but I'm going to treat it as it does, because otherwise it's just stupid. Cannon aiming there, so it overshoots by misfire, resulting in 3 energy overload. Roll the scatter and turn the cannon to face that way and resolve a strength 10 shot. I assume it uses the little thing on it. So, yeah, that's just going to fire directly backwards. Okay. Combat. We have a bomb, we have the storm vermin, and we have a bomb. So let's go with let's go with a bomb first. So a bomb versus zombie. A bomb has special attacks, and it is 6 avalanche of flesh. So 1 has to take an initiative test, which it obviously fails. So it is 2d6 plus 1 hits. 8 plus 1, 9 hits. 8 wounds. That is a fair chunk of the zombie unit gone again. But there are still enough to get all 10 attacks back. I'm sort of amazed at how, wow, for Yeah, I'm sort of amazed at how much damage these zombies are doing to this Hellpit Abomination. Or these abominations, both of them, really. None. So at the end of that, they have the 1 for defending a fortification. A bomb wins, and they are once again forced out because of the breach. This is just a bloody yo-yo breach. Like, I'm really considering, maybe I'm making a mistake continually bloody letting them retake it. Like, I'm not making progress here, I'm just sort of tying it up and stopping Yuri from killing my bomb. See, I think I've been forgetting to move them away an inch, but yeah, they have now abandoned it. And, if I move a bomb in there, Yuri's just going to attack it on his turn and kill it. Because I can't stop him. He's going to assault it, and he's just going to be on its own, and it's probably going to bloody die. So, then again, what good is it doing otherwise, you know? I suppose it's stopping the zombie from retaking the Hellgate, but they've got units poised to do that. Alright, fine, screw it. Let's... Maybe this is really stupid, but the Hellpit Abomination, because unlike normal buildings, any unit can occupy it, the Abomination has now scrambled its gigantic, horrific mass onto the breached wall. Round here, once again, the Hellpit Abomination against skeletons this time. It does 1. Feed. All models in base contact suffer a single strength 6 hit. That's it. So, because it's an assault, it's counted as 1 model in base contact. Okay. Yep, so that's a wound. No armor save allowed, but it doesn't say no parry. So, they failed the parry, so it kills bloody 1. That is the worst thing to get in an assault like this. Normally, massive base, loads of damage. Not here. 11 attacks back, because there are 10 skeletons, one of whom is the champion. 4. 3 wound... No, 1 wound. Sorry, completely misread that. I was thinking about his regeneration save, which is a 4+. So 1 wound. Regenerated. So it is a draw. I think that just means it's over? Like, yeah, it's just a draw because they get the +1 for defending a fortress. And the breach only takes effect if the attacker wins. So basically nothing happens. And now here, the big combat. We have Gritcher and his storm vermin assaulting Manfred's building. Oh, Gritcher only has 1 freaking wound left. He's probably going to die, isn't he? Oh, maybe this was a mistake. Just the law of death is too threatening at such close range against such a powerful caster, you know? Just Gritcher is going to die eventually to one of these spells. He cast bloody 2 of them in the last one, so yeah, we need to do the assault. So it's Gritcher, the champion, and 8 storm vermin. And the storm vermin champion is going to challenge, which the Graveguard champion will accept. And just so I don't make the mistake again, this is the smaller Graveguard unit, so they have the great weapons, so they go last. First of all, test for fear. It's Gritcher's 7 + 3 for rank, so on a 10, which is very lucky because that's what they bloody needed. Champion attacks. Sorry, Storm Vermin champion attacks, 1 hit. Has a halberd, so +1 strength, no wound. Graveguard champion attacks back, 2 hits. Because of the great weapon, 2 wounds. And at that strength, no armor. So the champion is dead. That is unfortunate. He was hoping to tie up Manfred with that. Now, considering who can attack Gritcher, the way it works in an assault, because, you know, they're sort of moving around, they're not necessarily in contact the way they normally are, is characters or champions, or any other models that can normally be singled out, up to half of the enemies can choose to attack them. So, Manfred and up to 4 thingies can attack Gritcher. Manfred is going to attack Gritcher. Although, they have the same initiative. Huh, I didn't expect that. I really didn't expect Gritcher to be as fast as a vampire lord. So yeah, they strike at the same time, against each other. Why not? Manfred's attacks first. 3. 2 wound. And Gritcher is wearing the Armor of Silvered Steel, which gives him a 2+ armor save. That is reduced to a 4+ by the strength. Oh, he saved 1 wound, but he still lost the other, and unfortunately Gritcher only had 1 wound left. So Gritcher is dead. He does still get to strike back, so he is going to attack Manfred as well. 4 attacks. Bloody frickin' 2 1s, are you kidding me? 1 wound. Manfred gets a minor armor save, but that is not enough, so Manfred is actually wounded in return. Although he does have 5 wounds compared to Gritcher's 3. So first of all, I have to make note that Manfred will gain +1 dice due to the unholy sword of unholy magic and only power and magic and stuff. But yeah, Gritcher, sadly, is killed. I can't believe that. Like, if he hadn't been hit by that death magic, he'd still be standing right now. I can have up to 4 more Storm Vermin go for Manfred, and to be honest, that might be worth trying. Because he's fast, and he's a bit tough, but they have a decent chance of wounding him. And if they can kill Manfred, that's going to be devastating to the vampire cause. It's just a question of whether I want to, Alright, no, what I'll do first is I'll use, let's see, yeah, 4 more can attack him, so that leaves 4 Storm Vermin who can only attack Graveguard. So I'll do those first, and I'll see how we're doing on kills. Storm Vermin attacks. 3. 2 wounds. They do get an armor, but both fail, so that is 2 Graveguard. And that has actually taken them under the 10. So only 7 Graveguard can actually strike back. So bearing that in mind, I think it is much, much better to attack the Graveguard than try and take out Manfred, because 4 of them, they would all need to wound him to kill him, and otherwise it's sort of a waste. So let's go with the other 4 Storm Vermin against Graveguard, because if we can take out enough of them, then I'm going to be able to do enough damage to win the fight. 4 attacks, 4 hit, 2 wound, no saved. So they may still win the fight. They only need to kill 1 to balance the fight. So now it is 5 Graveguard are all that's left, fighting Storm Vermin. And they've got a pretty good chance of wounding if they hit, but only 2 hit. By pretty good, I mean fairly certain. Then again, 1 failed, 1 wound, but no armor, because at the high strength. So that was literally the one they needed to balance it. So yeah, there's 1 more Storm Vermin dead, and it is a draw, because they have the +1 for defending a fortification, and no other bonuses apply. So the Storm Vermin have to back away, having lost their leader. That is not good. And we go into Sylvania Turn 3. So I think Yuri and his lot will attack the Hellpit Abomination. Sadly, nothing else is in a position to. Like, what I would do is have the zombies, join in, but they can't charge backwards. So yeah, it is just Yuri's lot versus the a bomb, and neither side gets a bonus for being on a fortification. You know what I should have done with these clam rats? Instead of just shuffling them to the side, I should have turned them, reformed, and then they could have bloody moved into this building in the next turn instead of... I mean, they had a musician, they probably could have moved in that turn as well. Oh well, I just broke this base again by shifting them a minute ½ inch. Anyway, right, these zombies are going to reform to face that way. These zombies are going to move... they're going to pivot 1 and then move 3 down here. And I'm going to have to fix this bloody base again. And I think the Blood Knights are going to withdraw 4 inches. 3.5 because they're barded. So yeah, that's half movement. That's all of their movement in order to withdraw to there, so that they're in a much better position to charge wherever is the next weak point. Magic 6. And I think Manfred will re-roll the 2 to a 5. And they get +1 dice for Manfred's Unholy Dark Edgy Sword. I reckon Manfred will start off with a Spirit Leech targeting a bomb. See if we can wipe that out and stop any threat to this side of the board, basically, or this side of the fortress. So he needs a 7 for that. At level 4, he can cast that on 2 dice easily. He failed, and his broken concentration... Yeah, Manfred's concentration is broken. If you ever roll a natural 1 or a 2 total, then your concentration is broken, and you cannot cast spells for the rest of the phase. So, bloody whoops. One of the most powerful casters in the game was just like, what was I doing? Oh yeah, look at all the rats. So I guess that just leaves Yuri with 8 dice to spend. Even at max upcast, he can't reach Manfred's tower with an invocation, so he's better off seeing to his own people. Let's go for 4 on a mid cast, so he needs a 12 minus his level of a 2. So total of 18, no irresistible. What's the other thing he can do? It's Hellish Vigor, reroll to wound. I mean, there's really... Where's he going to cast that? On his own unit against the bomb? Yeah, I think I'm going to try and dispel that one. The one he's just cast. So he got a total of 18. 5 dice to try and dispel. Total of 18 plus his level of 2. So invocation is dispelled. And then, yeah, we'll go with a Hellish Vigor on Yuri's own unit. Reroll to wound. He's got 4 dice, and I just looked at it and I forgot what it is. It needs an 8. So, pretty guaranteed cast. He's actually only going to use 3 dice. Why tempt fate? Oh, that's a pretty good roll. So, yeah, that is cast, and Yuri's unit now rerolls to wound until his next magic. So that goes with... Maybe I should have got rid of that one because he's got Frenzy and Hatred, so he's already rerolling to hit, and now he's rerolling to wound as well. That is horrendously devastating. But I think we can actually use some boiling oil this time, because we've got Manfred's Graveguard can just pour boiling oil down on the Storm Vermin. So he can aim right there, because it doesn't scatter, and that is within 3 inches. Oh, no it's not. Place the small round template within 3 inches of the boiling oil unit. I assume that means the center has to be within 3 inches? I'm not sure if that's just like a standard phrasing thing or if that's just not bloody explained properly, but anyway. Is there. Any model under the template suffers a strength 4 hit, so I assume that means even partially. So I count that as 19, 3, 5... 5, 5, 1. It has armor piercing. Frickin' 17. Are you bloody kidding me? Out of 19 dice, only 2 were less than 3. Frickin' hell. At strength 4 with armor piercing, it just goes straight through their armor. So that's 17 storm vermin just fucking died. Sorry, I'm swearing. That is shocking for 250 points. Like 250 free points, essentially. I could have bought that 11 times. Bloody hell, look at that. Yeah, they're going to have to test for panic now, because frickin' like half the unit just got murdered. So they are testing on a 5 plus the 1 rank they have, testing on a 6. They fail. So they flee, they have scurry away, so they add 1 to this. They flee 7 inches. I cannot believe that. So they just flee 7 inches directly away. Oh my god. I mean, luckily for the Skaven, that's of 1 use, but frankly, that's all they bloody needed. Who still has it? The skeletons, the top right tower, so the zombies, and the zombies here. So no one else can use it, or needs to use it right now. The Tomb Banshee again will target Cruiser's unit with the Howl. So 2d6 plus 2 is 5, so that's not enough to do any damage. And then the only combat is a bomb versus Yuri's unit. So a bomb counts as 5 models in a building assault, not that it really matters because no one else is helping it. So I think we only do the roll, yeah, when it comes to its turn. So everything's, well, Yuri's going to attack it first. It has an initiative of 4, so it does go before the Graveguard. Yuri has 4 attacks plus 1 for the frenzy. So, yeah, it may not survive. It gets to re-roll because of the blood tower, so that is 5 hits. 2 wounds because of Hellish Vigor re-rolled to 3 wounds, and it gets regen on those. Saves 2 of them. Only loses 1 wound to Yuri. That is surprising. I sort of expected that to be more dangerous than that was. And now the bomb gets to roll to see what it does. 5. Avalanche of Flesh. Every model in contact must pass an initiative. 2d6 automatic hits. So this... Oh, do I get to pick who they're in contact with? I think I do. So I'm going to say Yuri. Because, you know, I get to pick with up to half. So Yuri takes a toughness and passes. But the unit itself takes 7 hits. So these are all against Graveguard. 6 wounds. You know what I've been forgetting to do in all these bloody fights with the bombs? I've been forgetting stomps. So this bloody draw we had here probably would not have been a draw because of the Thunder Stomp. So it would have just inflicted d6 hits. Oh god, is it worth doing that? I mean, it could change a lot and it's an objective, so I probably should. Alright, I'll come back to that. I mean, this one they won anyway, so I suppose it would do an extra d6. Right, I'll calculate the d6 here as well, because that's not going to damage much. At the strength a bomb hits, there is no armor, but they do get a parry. You can't parry a stomp, but you can parry normally. So 1 parry saved, so that is only 5 Graveguard destroyed. They do still have plenty to get all of their attacks, though. So that is now... is there still a champion? Yes, there is. So that is now a total of 10 Graveguard attacks back. 4. And their killing blow has no effect because it is too big. And that is actually no wounds at all. So they haven't hurt it at all. That is shocking. Okay. So now it does still get to Thunder Stomp at the end of it all. So that's 6 more hits, resulting in 4 more wounds. And these ones, again, it goes straight through armor. You cannot parry a stomp. So that is actually 4 more Graveguard. Bloody hell, this thing has fared a hell of a lot better than I expected. I genuinely fully expected Yuri to just decapitate it in one go. Oh, sorry, I completely forgot. They bloody have Frenzy and reroll to wound, reroll to hit. I completely forgot all of that. So reroll the misses, 4 more, and those 4 to wound, all miss, and then rerolling the total of 8 wounds. 1 actually goes through. I'm going to make note of that because I have bloody remembered they've got Frenzy as well, so that is another, 9 attacks? You see why I've been afraid of this thing. Like, afraid of attacking this tower. So that's 3 more hit, reroll the misses. So 5 hits, no wounds, rerolled to 3 wounds. So that's a total of 4 wounds that it is going to try and regen. And it saves 3 of them, so it does lose 1 wound. And overall, that is a pretty bloody fair trade. You know, I mean, fair for the Skaven, obviously. But yeah, you can see why, like, literally anything not as tough and regenerable as, that's not a word, but whatever, as the Abomination is not going to fare well here. So that's why I have been avoiding this tower like the ratty plague. Because it is just, with the Frenzy, the Hatred, and Yuri, it was untouchable, which is also why the vampires desperately wanted it to be an objective. But yeah, so, the Abomination wins. They are unbreakable, so they just don't shift. That's it. It's as simple as that. So, the fight, I guess, just ends because it's a building assault, even if it's assaulting one part to another. But yeah, let's do the Thunder Stomp against the zombies, and then we'll do whatever the hell happens up there. I'm dreading that because I messed up there. So 1 more hit on the zombies, which is just very easy. If this is higher than a 1, yeah, that's just 1 more zombie gone. Really, like I said, makes no difference with that one. Up here, however, if it gets any more wounds, it would have won the combat because this was a draw, in which case they would have been forced out because it was a breach. So, 4 chances at not rolling a 1 in order to win the combat. Well, I did get a 1, but that is still 3 skeletons. It's a stomp, so it cannot be parried, so that is 3 skeletons gone, which means they would have been forced out of the tower. Not tower, wall. So they would be here and then 1 inch away to there. And now, this one, I think the abomination would also have moved in. So would I have done stuff differently? Would Manfred have attacked it? I think he probably would have. Sorry, I'm rewriting history because of this one little mistake. This game, I swear. Right. Or would I have been afraid to? No, I think the whole point was taking it. So yeah, he would have moved in there. And I think Manfred's unit would have attacked it because I would have been very confident that they could beat it, not having seen this fight. So yeah, I think Manfred would have attacked it, so we will carry on and do this fight as well, because that thing I just rolled was actually last turn's fighting. So Manfred and all of his Graveguard. I mean, he doesn't have many left. Would I have chanced it? Maybe not, actually. It was prior to seeing these guys off, so maybe I wouldn't. I don't know. Oh, God, this is the hard part of like trying to guess my own intentions if I had different knowledge. This is why spoilers are bad. This is sort of what this is, in a way. Anyway, alright, I'm going to roll for it because I genuinely don't know what I would have done. So, 1, 2, 3, Manfred attacks. 4, 5, 6, he doesn't. Manfred attacks. So, the reason, like, I'm stammering a lot and going over stuff a lot, but yeah, basically, it would have been a decision of, because he would have had to charge before he saw off the Storm Vermin. Would he think he could defeat the Hell Pit Abomination and then the Storm Vermin when he's got so few Graveguard left? No, because it also would have been before he fluffed the magic phase, so he would have been confident he could get more guys back. So yeah, I think he... I've rolled it now, yeah, so he's going to attack the Hell Pit Abomination. But yeah, I don't know. It's just one of those things where I can't know fully what I would have done, and like I need to know, but I can't know. So I'm just gonna go with it that Manfred has attacked the Abomination. Sorry, I've just realised, how much did he lose the fight by? It was by 8, wasn't it? Yeah, it was by 8. So actually unstable. God, I completely forgot. So because the Battle Standard Bearers there, they only lose 7, but still. I almost forgot that. God, I would have bloody kicked myself. I wouldn't even have noticed until the edit. But yeah, that's 7 more Graveguard lost to Unstable for having lost against the Hell Pit Abomination. God damn. And that also would have happened here as well. God, I've been forgetting Unstable. I'm kicking myself now. Every single one of these fights where they lost and backed away, they would have bloody lost more to Unstable, and I've just not been bloody noting it. So they lost 3... So I think that would mean they'd lose 2 more to Unstable. I'm so sorry. There are so many little things, and like, yeah. I can only say that so many times before it's just a thing that I say now. But anyway, yeah. I mean, they're just zombies. It really doesn't matter with the most of these. It is just ones like the Graveguard and the Skeletons that matter more because they are much harder to resurrect en masse. But yeah. So, yes, Manfred goes first, 5 attacks, 3, 1 wound, and it is regened. Oh no! Oh, I severely overestimated the vampire's chances against the Hell Pit Abomination. Like, it really seems that the Abomination does middling to okay to at a push well against, like, weak units of lots. But, like, against a single character, unless they get lucky enough to actually do enough damage, it is hard. I don't know. I really don't know what I think of the bombs, because the zombies were sort of kicking its arse. It's multiple arses, basically. But here is Manfred about to be hit very hard by it. So a bomb does avalanche of flesh, every model in base contact, initiative test, blah, blah, blah. So this is going to be... I don't think I'm going to go for Manfred for this one. His toughness is too high. So I'm just going to ignore Manfred and just crush the rest of them, I think. Then again, how many are left? Oh, yeah, there really aren't that many. Yeah, screw it. Let's go for Manfred. No, he's fine. And it does 2d6 automatic hits. 11! Oh, God, he might wipe out the unit. It's worth noting that the 2d6 automatic hits are distributed as per shooting. So, as there are still over 5 models in this unit, I cannot target Manfred with them. But I think I am going to have to do them sort of, not individually, but enough to bring it under the 5, because then it might start mattering. Because bloody 11 hits at strength 6, this could very well wipe the whole lot of them out. So there are 6 Graveguard and Manfred, so I'm going to roll basically as few as possible until there are fewer than 5. So that's 2 wounds. At this, there's no armor, and these guys don't have... they can't parry, because they have great weapons. So, like, if any of these Graveguard do survive, which I don't think they're going to, because he rolled an 11, they could probably shred through the Abomination, but... yeah, so there are now only 5 models in the unit, and I'm going to have to get a counter because this is going to be tricky to keep track of. So there are 9 hits left to go, so they have to be allocated individually. So 3 more against ordinary Graveguard. 3 more wounds, no saves of any kind that they can get. 1 against the champion, he's okay. 1 against Manfred, he is not okay. And at that strength, no armor. And now we have 4 to continue allocating, so the champion again. He is not okay. Champion's dead. The Graveguard are wiped out, leaving 3 attacks against Manfred. With abysmal rolls. Okay, so yeah, that's that. Total of 7 wounds inflicted, and the Graveguard are now... Manfred's Graveguard are now wiped out. And then to wrap it up, the Abomination gets a Thunder Stomp. 6! Oh, Manfred. Oh, Manfred, you poor multiple times dead bugger. 5 more wounds, which goes straight through his armor. He has no ward save. Manfred gets stomped into mulch by a Hellpit Abomination who's just forced its way into the tower. All I'm thinking right now is, would I have actually fought that fight, you know? I think overall I would have, because I didn't think the Abomination was that good. Like, frankly, I brought them along because they're a menace that can damage the walls, basically. That's why I brought them. And I didn't really think that they'd be a good wall-clearing thing. I thought they would be more as a wrecking ball to just charge at the wall and mess people up. Yeah. Okay. So, he's not going to move into that one because he's sat on the objective, and bloody hell, if anyone wants to try and shift in, they are welcome to try. So, that doesn't change anything like these guys fleeing, because the boiling oil would still have happened. Yeah, so... I think in the future, I'm going to make the boiling oil, like, a thing you can do. I completely forgot about the rocks. I completely forgot about the rocks on every other frickin' time things got charged. Overall, like, I am quite mixed on this siege scenario, because there are so many rules. And yet, like, in reviews, because I was reading reviews for, like, Blood in the Badlands, people are like, oh, the siege rules are a bit bare bones. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Look at all of this stuff we've had to do. It took me like an hour to bloody list all the rules. So yeah, it's complex to an already complex game. And I suppose a siege battle needs to feel special and more. But I don't know. Yeah, I'm still mixed. Let me know what you think of the siege battle. I mean, this is a bit of a weird one because they're the vampire counts and they're not really designed for defending in a siege. And at the same time, the fact that they are so infinitely replenishable has meant that they have been able to hold on a whole lot longer than any other army could. Like, at this point, other armies would have crumbled massively under this assault. So now, it is the General of Undeath crumble, because that is all the fighting done. At the end of the phase in which the General is removed as a casualty, and at the start of every friendly turn after, although that bit isn't relevant because Yuri is a Lore of Vampire Wizard, each unit has to take a leadership test, and for each point they fail by, they suffer a wound. So let's go top to bottom, starting with the Zombs. They have a leadership of 2. So this is going to hurt them. This is going to hurt them a great deal. Yeah, they lose 6 guys from the top right tower. Still doing alright though. Next is the Skeletoons. They have a leadership of 3. Oh freaking hell. They lose 8. These zombies, 5. So only 3 that time, which is a bit of a drop in the bucket because that's the biggest unit, because it's just been completely avoided. The Blood Knights actually don't need to test because they are vampiric and therefore sort of survive on their own. They're not resurrected in the same way. These zombies, 10. So that's 7. However, because they are within range of the Battle Standard Bearer, they only lose 1 less, so that is 6 gone. These zombies, 6. So that would be 4 minus the 1, so 3. The Grave Guard, this actually uses Yuri's one, so 7. So they're fine. And finally the Cairn Wraiths on 5. Oh, that's bad. So 10 minus the 1, 10 minus the 5 minus the 1 is 4. So that is 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, God. That was devastating. So yeah, that is all of the damage, and until Yuri dies, that is all the damage that will be done for that. This battle's really swinging back and forth, isn't it? As we go into Deathtoll, turn 4. First to see if the sneaky infiltrator gutter runners arrive, and they do so on a 2+. They do! They can enter from any board edge and are treated as if they were returning from pursuing. So, I can place them within here. And when I set up this board, I set it up specifically so that there was room for... Forgot there were skirmishers when I set it up. There isn't space. Bloody hell. Oh, that is incredibly infuriating. Okay, I may need to add skirmisher bases because officially, according to the rules, skirmishers in a loose formation are about ½ an inch apart, which is this distance. So this is actually smaller. I was putting them essentially on a... Well, it says there a 40mm base, whereas these are 20mm. So essentially that gave a 20mm gap between each, whereas it is more like a 13mm gap. So I may need to do skirmisher bases just for complete authenticity, or I may not bother. But yeah, so they can fit, is the point. They can. I'm going to have to move the little bloody wheelie bits though. There we go. So, they can now fit between either side of this. So I think I will actually just have them come on here. So they start against the board edge as if they'd just come on from pursuing. And as long as I keep them out of the front arc, then they can use their throwing weapons without risk of being charged next turn. But what charges are we doing this turn? Well... I would have this bomb charge Yuri's tower, but he's got his spells running out next turn. So, like, then again, killing Yuri would pretty much end the battle, because they'd all start crumbling apart from the Blood Knights. Okay, I'm going to have the Skaven Slaves charge. They are actually within the minimum because they have movement of 5. So they are going to charge the tower. And to maximize my chances, because Skaven Slaves are terrible, I will have a bomb also charge Yuri's tower. I got the rule wrong. I got it slightly wrong. Whoopsie. A defending unit in a fortress section adds +1 to the combat resolution for each connected section occupied by a friendly unit. So it's not just a straight +1, it's a +1 for each adjacent one. So actually, here it would have been +2. Here it would have been +2, obviously +2 maximum because they only have 2. Here it would be +1, etc. Whoops. I mean, there are very few times when that would really have mattered. Like, even here, this one, I think that's the only time it was actually that close. So, and I suppose I did forget to do unstable the rest of the time, so it sort of balances out, maybe? Yeah, like, I'm thinking, like, it probably wouldn't have changed the results of battle, it would have just affected, because they wouldn't break, so the combat resolution difference only matters for unstable, which I pretty much forgot to do. So, I don't think it's the end of the world. Silly of me to not notice, but like I said, pile of rules, I don't need to say it again. I just did, but Oh, I'm sorry, I missed another bloody rule because it's one sentence in the entirety of this bloody book. Unless they are flyers, models attacking a fortress section must halve their weapon skill and initiative rounding down. Note that units attacking from siege towers or into breach sections do so normally. So, when would that have mattered? It would have mattered... it wouldn't have mattered with the Hell Pit Abomination versus zombies, because even halved, the Abomination is faster, and even halved, it's still striking down. It would... Would it have mattered here? No, because they were attacking from an adjacent section. So the only... And same with here. Like, we have not attacked towers at all. The only exception, then, is the Hellgate. The only time that would actually have made a discernible difference... Oh, the Storm Vermin... And then, so actually, Manfred would not have struck at the same time. Manfred would have struck first, because Gritch's initiative would have been halved. But also all of the fighting going on with the Hellgate, which, frankly, I think has been to and fro enough that I'd say, it's a wash. Same, to be honest, with this. Like, Manfred still got absolutely crushed. So, unless you want to start thinking along the lines of, well, maybe if he hadn't taken the wound from Gritchy, he might still be alive from the Abomination. I don't remember what he got. Like, spoiler alert, I'm recording on another day. So, I don't know. I promise this is the last time I'll say this until the end of the battle, at which point I'll sort of wrap up my thoughts. But there are so many rules added by this siege battle, in addition to all of the rules that already make Warhammer incredibly complex. Yeah, I missed a few. I feel like I'm missing more than usual in this because of the siege rules, but bloody hell, I'm just going to treat it as a wash, Like, I'm just going to treat it as if those rules aren't there, just because I've ignored them this whole game and it doesn't make sense to me to change that now. As I was. So, treating the rules as I have been, Yuri doesn't get the combat resolution bonus for being attacked, because he's being attacked from the battlements as well. So, according to the rules as written, he should get one from the Cairn Wraiths occupying this, but the way I have been doing it, he wouldn't, so I'm going to continue it that way. I was gearing the Rat Ogres to charge the Cairn Wraith one, but frankly the Warp Fire Throw is doing such a good job. How many Cairn Wraiths are left? Alright, I mean, it is just the 2 Cairn Wraiths and the Tomb Banshee. So actually the Rogers may stand a chance. Well, I'm going to have to test anyway because they're, Rogers. So testing on, they are within range of the banner. So testing on 5 with a reroll to see if they have to charge. They do not. They are very well restrained. So yeah, I think I'm going to wait. Like, this is just too nice a lineup of enemy troops to not Warp Fire Throw. Then again, even if I roll a 10, it's only going to like, here. But yeah. Alright, I will not Warp Fire Throw, and I'll give another turn of burning the Cairn Wraiths. These Skaven slaves are going to... Is there room for them to pivot? There is not. So they are just going to reform to face that way, ready to move into the Hellgate when they are ready to. And the Storm Vermin, they have no rank bonus, so they're testing on just their base 5, which they fail, so they flee, adding 1 to this for Scurry Away. They flee 9 inches. Not really surprising, but now that Manfred's dead, that is essentially all I really needed them for. The Gutter Runners are going to move up 5 inches. Need to make sure that they stay out of the front arc. So they're less than 5 inches. So some of them are going to be at long range, but it's better that than have them charged. And then I will reform Cruiser's unit to face that way, so that they are ready to move into this tower should they choose to next turn. Although next turn is the final turn, so maybe they don't need to, but I think they're also technically... Yeah, they also do still have this in the front arc, so they can charge their next turn if I want them to. Magic. 4. Channel Yuri. Nope. Channel Chich. Nope. I don't even know that it's worth doing a Warp Lightning. All he can actually shoot at, is this one. And he could just shoot some zombies who theoretically could move into that Hellgate. Actually, that could be a problem. Yeah, that could be a problem. Then again, like, if we can shift Yuri, then we'll have, we being the Skaven, will have 2 objectives, so that is a victory. Yeah, okay. There's no reason, I guess, not to do it, so... Let's go with an upcast, Warp Lightning. He needs 12, minus his level he needs 10. And he gets it, 13. And they have 3 dice to dispel. They also need, so they need 13 as well, because Yuri's the same level. They don't get it, so that is cast. So 2d6, strength 5 hits against the Zombles. 5 strength 5 hits. That's not going to do a great deal, but it, it's probably going to take out 5 of them. They don't have any saves or anything. Took out 4 of them. So that is the front right wall. Yeah, that did nothing to the numbers. I forgot how unblooded that unit was. And on to shooting. First of all, I'm just going to rotate the Warp Lightning Cannon back around. Not that it really has any targets. I mean, I suppose it could actually shoot the Cairn Wraiths. But... that is a little risky. So let's go with the Warp Fire Thrower first. It's just going to fire straight down this way and hopefully overshoot a little and hit those Zombles, because I don't think even at max overshooting it could hit. Maybe it could. Hang on. Max overshooting. Yeah, okay. Yeah, it could. So I think it's much better to try and hit that one than that one, because this one really doesn't pose any threat at all. So let's go with there. The Warp Lightning overshoots by 4 inches. I've got to say, the Warp Lightning Cannons throwers have done really, really well. So that goes 4 inches. That's exactly to there. So it just hits the Cairn Wraiths. So it does d6 hits against the Cairn Wraiths and may well finish them off. It probably won't finish them off. It does 2. That is 2 wounds. I don't understand how this rule is phrased, because I'm thinking about the Cairn Wraiths who have 2 wounds each, and the Warp Fire Thrower which deals d3 wounds? Yeah, multiple wounds d3. So it's like, it says... if a unit of creatures with more than 1 wound on their profile is hit by a weapon that causes multiple wounds, determine how many wounds are caused on each model individually, and then add up all the wounds caused and remove the appropriate number of models. I mean, that just doesn't make sense with the rest of the rules. Because, like it says, make sure, remember that when you're hitting a multiple wound thing, remove them one at a time, make sure that you deal all the wounds to one before moving on to the next. But does that mean I can allocate 1 wound to them, see how many that multiplies out to, and then allocate the next? I assume so, and that's sort of the way I played it before and how I'm probably going to keep playing it. But it just is so confusing. It's like, determine how many wounds are caused on each model individually. I mean, I guess you could interpret that the way I said. And then it just says, add up all wounds caused on the unit and remove the appropriate number of models. No, but they're not caused on the unit if they're multiple wound weapons. Oh, sorry, it's really confusing. So yeah, I'm just going to treat it the way I have, so that because the Tomb Banshee is the champion of the unit, it hits the Cairn Wraiths, or it can hit the Cairn Wraiths first. They basically take the first one takes a wound and it multiplies out to D3, and then the second one, if it's, it won't be still alive because it's only got one wound left, so it actually doesn't matter what the first one is. The first one's just gone. So actually, in this case, it was completely moot. Alright, second Wraith. Oh, it takes 3 wounds. Okay. Well, that is all of the Cairn Wraiths dealt with. So there is only the Tomb Banshee left on the wall. Just crying forlornly. That was a whole lot of faff over nothing, wasn't it? Over here, I think I'll do the same with this Warp Fire Thrower. I will... Did I delete it? I did. I will have this one burn these zombies, because why not? It is unlikely to backfire, he says, right before it backfires. So it overshoots by 4 inches. It didn't backfire. Very, very good. Very good, very good indeed. Goes forward 4 inches. That's enough to hit that and only that. So it does D6 hits on the zombies. 2. That's not much. 2 wounds, no saves, so that is 2 more from the massive horde of zombies milling around on that particular wall. Do I want to shoot the Warp Lightning Cannon? I mean, I could try and take out the Tomb Banshee, but the chances of that going wrong, there are too many things nearby. I mean, it's a sniper shot, essentially, so like the worst that could happen is, I guess, it overshoots. So yeah, I guess there is no downside to it. Like, if it was another kind of siege weapon, it probably wouldn't be worth the risk. But a cannon can't scatter in the same way. So, yeah, if I aim here... So that is just under 6 inches short. It's shooting past it, so... Yeah, I mean, it's also aiming high, it's not actually aiming low. So it overshoots by... Don't be a misfire. By a misfire. I feel like this cannon has given up the ghost, no pun intended, and because that's 2 misfires in 2 turns. It is number 3, another energy overload, causing it to turn that way, which again I think is off the board, given the positioning. Yes, it is off the board. So I think this cannon is going to have to go in for maintenance because it's just shot twice into the abyss. And then finally we have the Gutter Runners, who are equipped with throwing weapons. So they are going to... It's a 6-inch range, so these ones are in short, whereas the back row are all in long range. They are going to just throw them at the skeletons and just try and whittle them down a little bit more. Being quick to fire, they do not have the normal penalty for moving and shooting, so the front rank, 5 hits. Back rank... 3 more, so a total of 8. Not bad. Only 2 wounds, that's pretty bad. Both saved by armor. Okay, well, good surprise attack, guys. Really impactful. Combat. We only have the assault on Yuri's Blood Tower, which is still affected by Hellish Vigor, and of course still gives Hatred and Frenzy. Well, at this point, I can reveal, as you may have guessed in the lead up to this, that this unit is the one with Sral in it. That's why I positioned it here with the intent of taking out Yuri, and it's why it's sort of been hovering, waiting for the chance to attack. So, Sral reveals himself at the start of the combat phase, and he displaces a model in the front rank so that he can fight. And in the assault, the monster counts as 5, and then I get Sral and 4 slaves, all attacking. So, as these guys are attacking, Sral will challenge. Is there a champion? There is still a champion left. Do I think Yuri can beat an assassin? I actually think no, he can't. Because it's quicker than him, and he has poisoned attacks, and yeah, I think Yuri would die, and that would spell doom. So I think the Graveguard champion will accept Sral's challenge. Oh, I feel like I should give them the bonus. I was really planning on, like, not, because I've not up to this point halved their weapon skill and stuff. And the only time it would really matter is the Manfred Gritcher thing, and frankly, if either one of them was still alive, I think I'd care a little bit more about that. Then again, maybe Manfred would still be alive, but, you know, you could play that guessing game bloody until the Skaven come home, so I think I will just... Yeah, I'm going to give it to them from now on. And to be honest, it's not affecting the Helped Abomination, it is only affecting the Skaven slaves who have no weapon skill anyway, and the assassin. So, yeah, I'll give it to them for this. But even with halved initiative, he is still faster than the Graveguard, but also the assassin has always strikes first, which means you always strike first. And if you have always strikes first and still have a higher initiative than your opponent, then you re-roll to hit. So halving his weapon skill, that is still 2 hits, one of which is a 6, which will be important in a second. So re-rolling the miss. Alright, 3 hits, one of which is a 6, which triggers poisoned attacks. It is an automatic wound. Oh, sorry, he has an extra hand weapon, so he actually gets a 4th attack, which is a miss, re-rolled into a 2nd poison attack. So he has 2 poisoned, 2 that have to roll to wound. Rolling to wound, no wounds, but there are the 2 poisoned ones. He gets his armor, still reduced for strength, fails both of those. He does get his parry on both of those as well, fail both again. So that is the Graveguard champion destroyed by poison, weirdly. Next it is Yuri, who is going to go for the Helped Abomination, because that is by far the biggest threat still standing. That said, I did forget to do the fear test. So testing, the Assassin's unit is testing on a 7, which they fail. Are they in range? They are not within range. So actually he's on much lower weapon skill. Also he's testing on a 6. Doesn't matter, he failed anyway. Yeah, all of his hits still hit, because he rolled 5s and 6s to hit. So yeah, he needed a 5 normally, and a 6 would give him the poison. So yeah, all of his hits still hit. Yuri's attacks against the bomb, 5 hit, 4 wound, gets to re-roll the 1, still 4, 4 plus regeneration save. Saved 3 of them, he loses 1 more wound, he still has 2 left. And halving the Skaven Slaves' initiative reduces it to below the Graveguard, who these ones don't have great weapons. So the Graveguard, they're going to go for the Skaven Slaves, because they need to rip through a large number of them. Like, I mean, theoretically they could try and kill the Abomb, but it's unlikely. It's a half chance to just ignore any wounds they do. But if they can win the fight, then they can still send Sral and his slaves scurrying. Also, I think I forgot this last round, and in fairness, that was the first round that they actually fought. Yuri is carrying the Banner of the Barrows, which gives all Graveguard in the same unit +1 chance to hit in combat. So actually they're hitting on a 2+ against the slaves, which they bloody needed. 4 hits. Bloody hell, they got 4 1s. Appalling. 3 wound, and at that strength, no armor. Oh, sorry. They don't have that many people left. Also, the Helped Abomination goes before them. Okay, well, I'm just going to put these guys back here for a second, and we're going to do the Abomination. He gets 4 Flailing Fists, makes 3d6 attacks. Any enemy unit that suffers 1 or more has -1 to hit. So he inflicts a total of 12 attacks. Yeah, I don't think they're actually going to be alive to try and hit the slaves, because there are only 4 Graveguard left, and it's inflicted 6 hits, 5 wounds, which goes straight through their armor, but they do have a parry, in which 1 was saved, however 4 failed, which is the last of the Graveguard. So yeah, there are no Graveguard left standing to fight the Skaven slaves. Which does, however, mean that the Skaven So hang on. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. It does mean that the Skaven slaves are free to attack Yuri, as he is not in a challenge. Oh, hang on, there's one left. One bugger left, right there. Never mind. So, yeah, I always forget this. I put one on the tower. It's happened a couple of times as well when I've gone, oh, hang on, there's another one. Yeah, I think it actually happened with the other Graveguard. Anyway, yes, so the one Graveguard left does get to fight. So I'm just going to re-roll his because, yeah, there's no way to know which of the 8 I rolled would have been him of the 5 that there were. It does matter. But the funny thing is, because the a bomb got flailing fists, it inflicts -1 to hit. So although they get +1 from the banner, they get -1 from a bomb. So it misses. So yeah, he does get to re-roll it, and he does have frenzy. So re-roll the 1, still a miss. The frenzy attack, that one is a hit, and a wound, so he does kill 1 Skaven slave. And then finally we have 4 Skaven slaves attacking Yuri or the Graveguard. I think it's better if I kill off the Graveguard, or try to. You know, they're only Skaven slaves. 1 hit, no wound. Okay. So at the end of that, the Skaven win by 4. So, what does that mean? That means bad things. Yeah, unbreakable, unstable. So, reduced by 1 because of the Battle Standard Bearer. They still lose. Instead of 4, they lose 3. So that is the Graveguard. The last Graveguard is gone, leaving 2 wounds, which is how many Yuri had left. Well, how many Yuri has in total. So I'm afraid Yuri breaks down crying. No, breaks down due to the instability inherent in necromantic magic. Ooh, actually, yeah, I think my internet just dropped, so I can't actually check the rule. That's not good. Oh no, it's recovered. I do have the book, so I could check in that. I was about to, but alright. I was checking to find out whether vampiric models do still suffer from unstable. They do. So the only difference is they don't take wounds for the general's destruction, but they do still take them if they lose a combat. So I'm afraid Yuri does indeed collapse due to unstable. And with that, Sral's unit move in. I'm just going to move Sral himself and just leave the rest of the unit on the edge. And now, at the end of the phase, every undead unit has to take a leadership test again. And they're going to have to at the beginning of their next turn as well. And this is because the magic that Yuri was using to sustain them has faded. So the zombies here have to take a leadership test on 2. And they take a wound for each one they fail by, which is 5. Still reasonably healthy, holding the least important tower in the game. The skeletons here testing on 3. That is 6. And I reckon these gutter runners who've just thrown a load of stuff at these skeletons are like, look, they all died. That was us. This zombie unit, 4. Incredibly healthy still overall on that massive block. The Blood Knights, being vampiric, do not need to test. These zombies, only 1. So they're still doing reasonably well as well. These zombies, oh, that's pretty bad. 8. That is most of the remaining units, only 2 left. And then finally, the Tomb Banshee on her own, which is a 5. And if she rolls a 7 or higher, she's dead. She rolled a 7 or higher. So, well, you know, dead, whatever. Yeah, she is dissipated. So this is pretty much over now as we go into Sylvania Turn 4. And I'm afraid the first thing that they have to do is immediately do all those tests again. So starting with the zombies. 5. That's the back rank gone. They are suddenly looking a lot less healthy. Skeletons on 3. 4 more, leaving just the 3 of them standing. Front wall zombies, 7. Still looking really healthy, frankly. Center zombies, 5. Yeah, they're getting quite depleted now. These 2 are almost certainly gone. They need to roll 3, basically. 3 or less. Yeah, they're gone. That unit is just done for. And that is it. What the hell are they going to do now? Like, the Blood Knights are the only capable unit left. I think the Blood Knights, are going to move into this. So they're just going to move and occupy this objective. Just deny it. You know, it's not going to mean they win because there's Skaven are controlling 2, and there is no force on this earth that is going to shift them. I guess these skeletons are going to reform because on their last turn they will try, because what else are they going to do? And these zombies are also going to reform, but there's just nothing else they can do. They're not in good positions. These zombies are going to move into the tower, and that is it, really, for this turn. There is nothing else they can do. So, hang on, I've got zombies in this tower as well. Yeah, okay, these zombies are going to attack the Help Abomination and try and take this wall back. You know, try and do it before they collapse. So it is the top right zombies versus the Bomb. A bomb's attack, because he goes first, is 3 Flailing Fists, 3d6 attacks. And they suffer -1 to hit against the bomb. Oh, bloody hell. 17. That's 17 attacks. Yeah, it doesn't like that it's being bothered on this wall. I think it might consider the wall its new nest. That is 9 hits, actually surprisingly low. But any that wound are kills, which is all of them. That is 9 wounds. Leaving just the 5 of them, the 4 there and the 1 that's, you know, marking them, as all that is left, and allowing the 5 of them to strike back with -1 to hit. So they're hitting on a bloody 6, so they get no hits whatsoever. Oh wow, I rolled 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that's funny. So yeah, nothing comes of that, just 9 more zombies dead, really, because that was it. Oh, they could have done a boiling oil, though. They do actually have a boiling oil. So, yeah, okay. I'll use the boiling oil. I mean, technically it's a template, so it should do d6 hits. Huh. Okay. Let's see this through. d6 hits. Oh, wow. That was your one chance. Your one chance. Alright. Game is like, no, the boiling oil says it does 1 hit per model. Strength 4 hit, so no wound at all. Well, worth a try. As we go into Deathtoll turn 5, the final turn of the game. So Deathtoll control 2 of the objectives, and there is just the Hellgate that is still being controlled by the vampire counts. So, the Ram is going to move into it. A Bomb is going to attack them. I mean, should the Skaven slaves also do it? They probably should. Also, the Rat Ogres did absolutely FA this game. Just nothing at all. I think I misplaced them next to the Blood Tower. I sort of underestimated how threatening the Blood Tower was. Yeah, let's have the Skaven slaves charge. They're within their minimum. So they charge the Hellgate as well. Elsewhere, Cruiser is going to move onto this wall because I saw that it is technically in the front arc and they can therefore technically move to it. I mean, then again, they could just move sideways, frankly. Anyway, yeah, they move onto that wall. Chich is going to move this way, just to there. And these guys are going to move a little further forward so that they are all, hopefully, a little further to there. Yeah, no, oh, for God's sake, whatever. There. My God. Literally can't get closer. They're actually too close. So no, like they would be a bit. It doesn't matter. They're not within half range. It doesn't matter. There are 3 skeletons left. The Storm Vermin testing on a 5. They continue to flee. So they flee. Adding 1 to this for scurry away. They flee another 9 inches, taking them off the board. I don't think Chich is going to bother trying to cast any magic because the only thing he can do is cast Warp Lightning at zombies who are not a threat to anybody at this stage. Then again, they are the biggest unit left on the board, but the chance that they have of shifting the Helped Abomination is very, very low. Can I warp fire throw it, though? I mean, if I aim it right, I can't overshoot. Yeah, alright, if I aim this way, I can clip the tower without risking hitting the Abomination, unless something goes wrong, of course. But something's not going to go wrong. Why would something go wrong with the warp fire thrower? As it overshoots by misfire. That sounds like I planned that. Number 2, Woomph. Place the large round template over the weapon team as it explodes. There's nothing anywhere near it, so there is no point doing that. It just explodes. And Chich is like, really glad I didn't try my magic, because that could have been me. To be honest, I don't really want to risk any other shooting. You know, there's so little to gain from it. So yeah, well, oh no, this shooting I can. No risk here, as 9 of them are in short range. So they get no penalty from moving because it's quick to fire, 6 hits. And the long range, still 6. 0 wounds. The thing is, they're still going to watch the skeletons crumble and they're still going to take credit for it. Because who's going to disprove them? The only one in any way paying attention is the giant rat monster currently laying eggs somehow? Can it do that? I didn't know it could do that. Delicious rat eggs, oh my god. Anyway, so now we have this big combat of the Abomb and the Skaven Slaves versus the Blood Knights. So first of all, we roll for Ram. This is the first time I'm actually using the Battering Ram because we took the gate without it. So the way the Ram works is when it's in contact with a section of the fortress, roll a d6 at the start of the combat phase, and on a 5+, it breaches, but if it's ramming a gate, it breaches on a 4+. Does it breach the gate? It does. So this is the only way, like this, or one of the only ways. There are a couple of other like siege things that could be purchased, but this is the only one that's like the only one I have as a way of actually breaching after the game has begun. So there we go. That is now breached. So even if the Blood Knights survive, if they lose, they are forced out anyway. Of course, that does go both ways, and the Blood Knights could conceivably recharge next turn, except they can't because they're going to be facing the wrong direction. So yeah, the Blood Knights go first as they have the highest initiative. However, there are actually no heroes, no characters or anything on the Skaven side in this fight, so no challenges. The question is, how are they going to aim their attacks? Because the Abomination could kill them. So I think I'm going to have to target the Abomination basically one knight at a time until it's dead, or they run out of attacks, because the Abomination is the only threat going on here. So there are 3 Blood Knights and the Champion, and I'm fairly sure they haven't lost a fight this game, so they still have Frenzy. So the Champion has 4 attacks, and the Ordinary Knights have 3 each. First of all, testing fear, but they are just within range of Cruiser. This is why I wanted him in this tower, so that his banner had basically increased range. That said, they are still testing on a 5 because it's their 2+3 for their rank bonus. They fail, and using the reroll, they actually pass, miraculously. Not that it really matters. First knight against the Abomb. 2. 1 wound. Regened. This is so I can keep track of how many knights I've got. 2 ordinary knights and the champion still to go. Second knight. 1. No wound. Third knight. Bloody 1. Wound. Regened. Oh, God. Okay. So all that's left is the champion, who is still going to have to try and kill the Abomination, because otherwise they're screwed. Frickin' 2 hits. 1 wound. Not regened. So they do actually inflict 1 wound, however it had 2 left, so it is still standing. As it then attacks back, because the Abomination is faster than the nightmares they are riding. And the kind of attack it does is 2 feed. All models in base contact suffer a single strength, so it's only attacking 1 of them after all. Oh, bloody hell. However, no armor save allowed, so that is just 1 Blood Knight immediately dead. And the Skaven Slaves strike at the same time as the horses, or the nightmares that they're riding. So I will do the nightmares first. They are going to go against the Skaven slaves. 3 hit, 2 wound, no armor. But they do get a parry, which they both failed. Also, I did forget to Thunderstomp against Yuri's lot, so they actually probably would have lost even without the instability, but I did forget that entirely. I have remembered here, though. I did forget here, though. Sorry, yes, that was 2 wounds against Skaven slaves. It's funny what triggers me to remember stuff. So in this case, I remembered because it's like, do they get parry saves against horses? Yes, they do, but they don't against Stomp. Oh yes, Stomp. Stomp's the thing that thing can do. What didn't Stomp? Oh, that didn't Stomp, etc. Yeah, the fear made absolutely no difference. They'd hit on the same regardless. So 2 hits from slaves against Blood Knights. No wounds. So actually, the Blood Knights are currently winning. However, the Thunderstomp comes in. 4 more hits. They do get an armor against these. So that's 4 more wounds. Not a great armor save. But it does save 2 of them. So only 2 die. However, that is the standard gone, leaving just the champion left. But that means it is a draw, because neither side loses, and the slaves don't have a musician, and neither do the Blood Knights anymore. So actually, the Blood Knights hold on to the gate, which means they are going to for the end of it, because it's a building assault, so they don't continue it. So they back away an inch. I think I will quickly do the Thunderstomp here, because it has a genuine chance of wiping out the rest of the unit, and I think that will actually make a difference. No, it won't wipe him out, but it probably is going to kill half of the remaining guys. Yep, half of the remaining guys. Oh no, there are 5, so not quite half. But still. And we go into Sylvania Turn 5, the very final turn of the game, and the only thing that matters is whether they can take back this wall. If they manage to inflict 4 wounds on this thing, then they will win the game. Because the Blood Knights have the Hellgate, and they will take this wall, and they will secure the wall against the attack. So we do still have to go through the crumble first. So who wants some delicious zombie crumble? Starting with this unit. Yep, that unit is entirely gone now. Next, the zombies in this tower. They will presumably not be wiped. No, they can't be wiped out by this. Oh, they actually rolled incredibly low. They only lose 2. The skeletons, who are hoping to assist in the assault, but probably won't be able to, because if they roll a 6 or higher, they're all dead. Oh, they didn't either. They only lose 1. So that's just left them with 2 skeletons. Blood Knights don't need to, being vampiric, and the zombies who have absolutely no place in this battle whatsoever. 5, so that's 3 more zombies gone. So these skeletons are going to charge, these zombies are going to assault, so the final battle of the game is the Hell Pit Abomination fighting for its nest against a load of undead. And technically these skeletons have a boiling oil. Like, it doesn't make sense to me that units have boiling oil like this. I really feel like sections of the wall should have it, because generally they didn't carry the pots of boiling oil. They were mounted on the walls so that they could just easily be tipped. So I'm going to say it doesn't make sense for the skeletons on the floor to pour boiling oil on the thing on top of admittedly a breached wall. To me, it just doesn't make any bloody sense. I'm just not allowing it. I mean, technically, these guys are within range. Yeah, I suppose they technically can assault it. So I guess why not? They're going to try. So they are within minimum range, so they're just going to move and just tuck in there. And unlike normal assaults, because this assault is coming from inside the fortress, even though the Skaven now control it, they don't get the bonus because, like, essentially there's probably a door or something to let the zombies in. So let's go with this fight first. But the fact that they may actually do a complete objective sweep, I find bloody hilarious. So yeah, let's just jump straight to combat, and it's 9 zombies versus Sral and his slaves. First of all, testing fear on a 7 with a reroll. they pass. Then again, I don't know that the slaves can use his leadership. This is similar to the issue I had with what's his face, Harold Giant Killer, Giant's Bane, whatever his name was, with the terrifying Mask of Yi, which said other units can't use his leadership value, because that's what it says here, because the Skaven assassin has a rule called a killer, not a leader. So he can never be a general, but it also says other units can never use his leadership. Like, theoretically, does that mean the other unit, as in the unit he's joined? Because they're treated as a single unit. And like with the... yeah. I think with the Harold and stuff, I did do them separately, didn't I? I don't remember. I feel like they should be done separately, so I probably should... Again, it didn't matter with the slaves in the previous one, but I'll test it separately this time. So, Sral passes, but the slaves are testing on a 2, because they have no rank bonus when they're occupying a building, which is stupid, and I'm going to homebrew in future battles, because that is ridiculous. But Sral gets an additional attack for Frenzy, because he is now in the Blood Tower. 3 hit. He gets to reroll because of Hatred and being always strikes first, so that's still a miss. So that's only 3 hit. Bloody, only 1 wound. Pitiful, Sral. Like, don't sit on your bloody little rat tail now that you've done your job. Still needs knife work doing. And now 9 slaves who do also all get Frenzy, so they're actually dishing out 18 bloody attacks. And even being afraid, like I said, it makes so little difference for the Skaven slaves. They're pitiful anyway. 9 hit. 4 wound, and no armor or anything like that, so it is now literally impossible for the zombies to win, because they can only inflict a maximum of 4 wounds. So they're all going to go against Skaven slaves. And they all miss anyway. Bloody hell. Oh well. They tried, and it was interesting that they could try, really, at that point. But now we come to the final deciding battle. This vampires could still win, and I love it. I love when a game comes down to a single final battle deciding the winner. I just love it when that happens. So, especially when I don't see it coming. So yes, we have, they are still limited to 10 models fighting, so we've got 2 skeletons and 8 zombies. However, they are all slower than the Abomination. And this time he does 6 Avalanche of Flesh. All foes, so one is going to have to take an initiative test, and he inflicts 2d6 hits against a single unit in contact. So he's going to go for the zombies, because more things he can kill, basically. So a zombie needs a 2+. Wait. No, a zombie needed a 1 to pass. Sorry. Just characteristic tests always throw me. They're always, reversed. So yeah, that's 1 extra automatic hit against the zombie. And then they also take 5 more, so the zombies take a total of 6 hits. Any wound is 1 destroyed, so that is 6 zombies gone, which is a drop in the bucket. And maybe he should have gone for the skeletons. 3 skeleton attacks because of the champion. Bloody all 3 miss anyway, never mind. And then 8 zombie attacks. 2 hit. 1 wound. Ooh. Regen. I mean, he had 4 wounds left anyway, so, yeah. And I'm afraid with that, it is over. The bomb has successfully defended its nest and scarily large pile of eggs that are now nestled among the rocks. And that is the end of it. The Skaven have successfully besieged Drakenhof. The Abomination here controls 1 objective, and Sral and his slaves control another. So that means the 2 of the 3 objectives are in the hands of the Skaven. Oh, my mistake. If the attacker wins if they've controlled all 3 objectives. So actually, it is a draw. My mistake. If the attacker controls 2 objectives, then victory points are used. So, as far as the siege objective goes, this one Blood Knight, this one guy holding on, it's surviving somehow against the Hellpit Abomination, this guy stopped it being a win. This one guy, like, I still don't know if Blood Knights are worth it, but they have sort of impressed me with their ability to fight in this. And largely because I could keep bringing them back, but if they charged off or didn't have a necromancer with them in some way, then I imagine they would die very, very quickly. But the strength they have, the number of attacks they have, and the fact that they're vampiric makes them really powerful. Of the 214 Skaven attackers, only 90 are left. But of the 246 defenders of Drakenhof, only 23 are still standing. For Dead or Fled, counting half-destroyed units as worth half points, including single models reduced to half wounds, Sylvania scored 1,208 points. Add to that 100 for defeating Gritcher the General, and 25 for 1 Seas Standard, giving them a total of 1,333. Clan Deathtoll for Dead or Fled scored 2,391 points. Add 100 for the General, 100 for the Battle Standard Bearer, and 75 for 3 Seas Standards, gives them a total of 2,666, exactly double. So although Clan Deathtoll were unable to properly secure the outer walls of Drakenhof in the initial assault, following waves did succeed in pushing through and conquering with a massacre victory. Overall, I'm still not really sure how I feel about the siege battle. It still feels incredibly stacked in some ways, and like it feels unbalanced in both directions in a way. I do think it is way too easy on the attackers, but maybe that's because I didn't do the holding the walls thing right. But then again, it doesn't count for breach sections. And there was just so many breach sections right from the start of the game, just because of the size of the battle, that it was virtually impossible for them to hold the walls even if they did have good soldiers. The only reason I think the vampire counts held on as long as they did is they could constantly resurrect their tar pit units that could just continually hold the walls, while the 2 or 3 competent units in their army actually fought back and just repelled attackers. And maybe that's how it's supposed to be, but that just doesn't feel, I don't know, balanced to me. I'll be interested to see how it fares if non-vampire, non-resurrecting units have to defend walls. As far as the attack goes, maybe I should have focused it differently, you know, sort of attacked harder on one side rather than spread completely out around it. I don't know. Like, in the end, the Rat Ogres did absolutely nothing, and the Abominations did a lot better than I expected. But we also avoided Yuri's Doom unit for the entire game, pretty much. Anyway, that was the final battle of round 6, so next time I'll be going back to the campaign map to see how this has affected things, so check that out soon. Thank you very much for watching. If you have tips on how I can play this better, or if you've tried a siege campaign, or just have thoughts on the rules as I've described them, let me know in the comments. I think I said siege campaign, I meant siege battle. So thank you very much for watching, and I will catch you later.